Yeah, and that's really going to play into the four-wheel drive cars as well, where they just have this extra traction round the corners.
Yep.
But obviously different classes. But yeah, it may mean that
But
we
it will
don't
make
see
a
our times
difference.
improve.
It'll make a difference in our pro. If the rain continues, it'll
Yep.
make a difference in our pro classes, maybe in our clubmans as well.
Yep, indeed. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out of the window. It still seems very, very light at the moment. So although the track does seem like it's darkening up a little bit, so
It
yeah,
does look
we'll
like
just keep
that,
an eye
actually,
out
yeah.
for that.
Mike Butler then, so our potential record holder, which is interesting. Of course, the supercharged BMW M3 does pack quite a punch. And actually, he mentioned this year they managed to eke out some more power from the mapping. I think he was actually throwing away a bit of power earlier. And so they managed to really pin that down, get the map nice and tight, and he unlocked a bit more power as a result. And perhaps then today here at Snat 200, which is so power dependent and so power hungry, that is paying dividends. Especially if we now have rain for the rest of the day, then that means that his record would stand, wouldn't it?
Yep, it does indeed. Yeah, because of course you can set the lap record during attack 1, attack 2, or super attack, and it can be in any of those sessions, and that will count.
Yep,
And of course, there's points, extra points on top. I believe it's 10 extra points, so for setting a lap record. So yeah, again, that can throw a big spanner in the works in terms of the championship, and it's everyone in the pit lane is trying to figure out at the moment. There's people asking. I was asked for use of the laptop at lunchtime so that we could work out.
What was that? What was? Okay,
so
are you allowed? Is this not Is this not like?
No, so that
okay,
everyone can work out
what's
what
this?
goes on with the points. You know, if you don't get out, or if something happens, it's like if somebody set a lap record, it can all change right down to the final session. So yeah, you really do have to keep an eye out. And we've got some championships that are very, very close. So as I said, on the overall championship points at the moment, David Dyson just leading Johnny Fletcher by 1 point. So it really does matter what kind of happens today. I think on Club 4-wheel drive, it's a little bit more kind of sewn out. Alexander Volkov, I'm pretty sure, has got a definite first position. But again, it's quite close between Andy Grady and Dean Taylor. And actually, look at the times. It doesn't look like Dean's actually managed to turn a lap. A recorded time. So Dean at the moment, I believe, is in second, just ahead of Andy Grady, but it's pretty close between them. So again, that's going to throw a big spanner in the works for the championship. So all to play for.
Yep, 5 whole points for the driver who holds the record at the end of the event.
5. Okay.
So let's
yeah.
so for example, you know, it's got to be by the end of the day, because you know you could conspire with another competitor to like sandbag a bit but set a record, and then they set a record, and then you set a record, and then they set a record. So you know you could just magic up infinity points. It's not how it works. It's whoever by the end of the day has set the lap record. So if Michael Osborne's lap records gets superseded by someone else, that person by the end of the day will have won an extra 5 points, which, like you said, it makes a big difference by the end of the day. There are points up for grabs for lots of things. So attack 1 and attack 2 score points for our drivers.
And I was just looking.
In fact, warm up gives drivers a point. 1 point in warm up to all drivers who set a time.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then I was just looking at on Club 4-wheel drive on the championship. So Dean Taylor had 127 points in second, and Andy Grady has got 119. So again, there's only 8 points between them, and so this is going to really count. So it's too much maths for me to work out without needing various different spreadsheets kind of like going on. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that.
The drop rounds make it quite difficult.
That's the complication.
That's it, yeah.
So yeah, our drivers, as we know, can drop 2 rounds throughout the season. So we have 8 rounds, but they're able to kind of like drop their 2 lowest scoring ones. But of course, for some people, we don't know that might end up being today. And so you can't kind of like work that out beforehand.
No.
So yeah, lots of complicated math spreadsheets that somebody will be working out frantically in the background.
I think from a driving perspective, like, I'm a big advocate of drop rounds, and there are a few series that I'm kind of involved in, and I love the idea of a drop round because, you know, we're not professional racing drivers. We are trying to balance this with the real world and real world commitments where bad things happen and you have to miss rounds and rounds go wrong and so on. But from the point of view of trying to follow a series, the drop rounds do make it difficult to try to work out the points when each driver has the option to remove. But then also when you're working out the points, you just discount whatever the worst two results are, right? But that might be today. Maybe they decide to drop today, or yeah, it makes it complicated. From that point of view, strictly speaking, working out the points, the championship, and so on, as a spectator, it does make it a bit tricky. So we understand your pain. We feel it too. But from a driver's perspective, it makes life a little bit easier.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Andy Grady just come across the start-finish line in a very steady pace. So obviously kind of like on a cool-down lap. And I wonder if that is literally him saying, you know, I might not be able to make up that time to Alexander Volkov, but I want to keep the car again for the super attack. So just saving those points.
Nice dab of oppo there from Neil Robson. I haven't.
Did you manage to catch Knock Hill? So
I caught some of it.
Just see him again. So,
but I didn't see all this drifty stuff you're talking about.
So he was very sideways. He was having an absolute whale of a time. As, he was saying when I was chatting with him earlier. But and again, I was looking at the weather at Knock Hill. I was like, oh, this is a tight, twisty track with a rear-wheel drive car and rain. That's not the best combo. But he was having an absolute blast. If there had been points for drifting, he would have got all of those as well. But yeah, he was saying with the extra power, just pushing that right to the track limits there. With that extra power, he's got, I think, a lot more to kind of like play with on this big power track. And it's interesting, and we'll keep an eye on him. So I guess we'll see around the corners if it's starting to get edged more towards this kind of like greasy stage, or it doesn't look like the rain is getting worse, but it's very hard to tell from up here. We'll keep an eye on him as he comes down. So through the big slide
there he goes down.
Yeah,
the same thing on the same corner.
So I mean, yeah, again, having a blast. And I would have said maybe not the fastest way around the circuit, but it really worked out for him at Knock Hill. He came first. He was fastest in Club 2-wheel drive. So again, well, I would say definite points for having the most fun out on circuit there. Yeah, just literally every corner, the rear end kind of sliding about.
I think it's quite unusual to see that in track. You know, I think the school of thought has moved into cars that are very planted, very point and squirt, slow in, fast out kind of driving. We've only really seen it from Filip Najdenov in the Ford Sierra Cosworth, and now also Neil Robson. This school of thought, this approach to driving, which is actually, I mean, they're very different cars. The Sierra Cosworth is quite long, whereas the 1 Series is quite short, stumpy, wide in comparison. But this really attacking approach, you know, it's not gratuitous. They're not sliding around for the sake of it, and they'd rightly get black flagged for that. They are getting sideways as part of making that car go fast.
Yeah, and he did say,
and it worked at Knock Hill.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you had to do.
Yeah, and as you were saying, it was like he's trying to drive that, you know, to keep it kind of like all 4 wheels going in the same direction. But it's just, you know, the guys are pushing the cars to the limits, and you know, rear-wheel drive car on a slightly slippery track. That's what's going to happen.
So I'm curious, because that was a lot more tidy just now from Neil Robson. So I wonder how that will translate into lap time. I mean, it was a slow sector 1 from him, actually. No improvement there. Oh, look at that knife. There we go. Never mind. Little bit sideways as well. Coming
he must
onto
have heard you.
Maybe. I mean, it looks so good. When you see a car driving fast with a dab of up, it reminds you of like Grand Prix cars of, you know, the glory days, 50s and 60s, Goodwood and so on, where they're all, you know, all 4-wheel drifting around that little bit of opposite lock. It looks great. It's a very old school of driving fast, but it's really great to see.
There's a lot of driving skill to keep it, on that kind of like fine edge. And there is a fine edge between going 2 sideways.
Yeah.
And then you do start losing time because obviously your wheels aren't gripping. So, but it's great fun to watch. I'm not going to complain.
No, it's great. It's really great.
But I did see, just looking down the lap time, so nobody's better in their kind of like lap time. And again, I just don't think that's surprising given the.
I think we're at the greasy point.
But, you know, looking out the window, there doesn't seem to be any more rain. So I wonder if it's just a few spots, and how much difference that is actually making out on track. I mean, like, judging by the lap times, I would say it's just taken the edge off whether somebody will be able to improve on their lap times from when they started the session and the track was dry. But it doesn't seem to be causing anyone too many issues to keep going around at the moment.
Mike Butler, look at that, 118.7. He makes a whole bunch of places up and moves into second in class in the number 67 supercharged M3. So Mike Butler there, as you said, potentially our provisional lap record holder in this class. And he punches in another very racy time, 118.7. So a fair bit of drift of his personal best that he set in attack 1, but good enough to move him into second in class for now.
And that's pushed Johnny Fletcher down into 5th from Club 2-wheel drive, which is really going to impact his championship. But he did say to me earlier he'd beaten his PB by 2 seconds. He was very happy this morning, but he did say he's cursed at this track. He said basically this morning was the first competitive lap he turned here since 2021 because he's always had problems here. And I wonder if he has, unfortunately, maybe suffered some other issues because we've not seen him out on track on for a little while.
Not a great deal, no. It looks quite imposing, doesn't it, Mike Butler's car? For those of you watching from the trackside, it's the white, blue and red BMW M3, kind of reminiscent of the factory BMW M GT racing colors. But especially when you compare it to the other BMW on track, the 135i of Neil Robson, it's quite big and imposing. It's like some kind of like blue whale or a killer shark or something. It just looks very big and gracious, but crucially, very powerful and very fast here as well around the 200 layout. Checkered flag is out then. So our drivers can finish their flying lap if they're currently on one. Mike Butler there has, I think, just further improved, perhaps? No, he dived straight into the pits. So his 118.7 that he set a little bit earlier on, that remains his personal best. I don't think anyone else is improving at the moment, so we can whip through our provisional results. So Alexander Volkov then at the top of the leaderboard with a 117.7. Ahead, let's do it by class, ahead of Andy Grady, Stewart, Andrew, and Dean Taylor. And our provisional Attack 2 winner in Club 2-wheel drive is David Dyson, ahead of Mike Butler, Luke Capehorn, Neil Robson, Johnny Fletcher, David Frost, and then Jeff Kershaw is actually running in Club Pro. Right, so those are our provisional results. Our Club 2-wheel drive and Club 4-wheel drive drivers will now head into Parc Ferme to make sure everything is hunky-dory and regulation compliant. And in the meantime, we'll get the track prepped and our Clubman Classic and Retro and Pocket Rocket machines ready to go on track for their Attack 2 in just a few minutes. And while we wait for the action to get underway, this is a driver that I mentioned earlier, who I follow on Instagram, does all kinds of interesting 3D printed bits and bobs for not only his car, but others too, Rafael Tsartsaris. Susie's been catching up with him in the paddock a little bit earlier on, so let's take a look.
So I'm grabbing a quick couple of minutes with Rafael Tsartsaris. So how are you doing?
Hello, Susie. Pretty well. The season is going really well. So far, I'm leading the championship, but it's very close. So it's only like 10 points between the second competitor. At the moment, I've got some gearbox issues.
I think there's 3 of you, isn't there, in contention?
Yeah,
so actually Stephen House and
Stephen,
Tommy Langley as well, very close.
And Tommy's actually 12 points behind me, which is, I think he's doing really well. After, I think it was Donington, he changed the car. I don't know if you remember, it was purple, now became like a white body kit, WRS, whatever. So he became really fast. We'll see today if I win. Can possibly win the championship. If I come second, can still win the championship, but we'll see. Fingers crossed. But with this gearbox issue, it's a bit iffy.
So tell us what's going on today.
So basically, before this round, I had a clutch slip. So my idea was replace the clutch And as well as the clutch, let's replace the gearbox by a JCW gearbox, which is supposed to be stronger. That was second-hand gearbox, obviously. The guy told me it was 60,000 miles, but it seems to be 150,000 miles. And this, you know how the supercharger is whining, it does exactly the same. So, yeah, not ideal for the final, but lessons learned. I'm not going to change again on the final critical components. That's the that's my lesson. That's a schoolboy error, to be fair.
So all to play for today then, and hopefully it all stays in one place for this afternoon. And then you've got plans for next year as well.
Yes, next year. The idea is I've got an M135i and N55. We are going to build it for the club two-wheel drive. Depends on the classes, because as we establish, we may have some changes. But yeah, the idea is build the BMW easier power than the Mini. The Mini is only 1.6, the BMW is 3 liter, so it's much easier to get the power out and just drive the car, basically.
So big plans for next year. So fingers crossed, everything stays together this afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Who would buy a new gearbox and change that at the end?
Oh my God. Yeah. Thankfully, the car has been fine all year. I mean, here and there was some issues, but the engine, that was a main issue the year before. Obviously, that's my second year of time attack. Obviously, I blew the engine on the first year, and then I had a break for a year, built the engine myself, like properly, exactly as I wanted to build. And now it's at least the engine is fine. The rest of it, it's not so.
Fingers crossed. Only two rounds left. So I'm sure it will go well.
Fingers crossed.
Brilliant. Well, we look forward to seeing how the championship goes this afternoon. And good luck out there.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Interesting. You know, we've all been there. He was talking about, lessons learned, schoolboy error, don't change critical stuff before. We've all been there. So
easy to say with hindsight, though, right?
It is, especially if you're thinking, I really need to change this thing. Or then you got to change it, right? You can't win. You're what is it? What's the term? You're something if you do, something if you don't. I can't remember.
Damned.
Damned. That's the one. You're damned either way.
Yep.
Annie Thompson in the Lotus Exige. So that Clubman battle still wide open. So we've got to be keeping quite a close eye on especially attack 2, but also even more so the super attack at the end of the day.
So after Knock Hill, I said that if it rains, it will play to Dan Buckingham's advantage, because obviously in the front-wheel drive car, and they are particularly strong in the rain. But Annie just absolutely blasted away. Knock Hill did an amazing drive. But I know Annie is running. She has issues today. So that car is definitely burning some oil. There's definitely some smoke coming out of it. They're having issues in this morning. Then it seemed a little bit better, so they were just worried about it. So I think Annie's going out there. It's very close between Annie's on 213 points, Dan's on 204. So again, Clubman is all to play for today, depending upon what happens in these final 2 sessions out there.
Interesting that it's burned. She had a bit of a moment there as well. Interesting that it's burning oil, though, because that's not traditionally a 2GR. I've got a 2GR powered car, blown it up twice now. I know the engines pretty well now. And burning oil is not something that they tend to do. What you will do, they suffer naturally from a bit of oil starvation, so you'll overfill them with oil quite a lot, maybe an extra liter of oil, if not more. Compared to the book value if you're doing track work, and then they start to burn oil. But that's kind of just what they do. Mm-hmm. So interesting that there's some kind of other issue on top of that, to the point where they think this is problematic. So one to keep an eye on, definitely. It's not the first time she's had issues with that either. There was something earlier on in the year as well. I never quite found out what the answer to that was.
Yeah, well, I think, and then it's just pushing oil out through the breather, and then it was like,
wow.
Yeah, but then that seemed to be a little bit better at Knock Hill. So yeah, so maybe a few issues, but again, and we can see in the 3 fastest times currently are all of these Clubman cars. So definitely a battle to watch out there for. But not the only battle in this session by any means, because of course we've got Pocket Rocket Force Induction.
Well, Raphael's
again.
just said, that's very close.
It's very close. So I think when I was looking at it, it's like, so Rafa's on 165 points, Steve House is on 155, Tommy Langley on 152. So again, keep an eye out for what's going on in Pocket Rocket Force Induction. It is all to play for today, especially for Raphael, who's having issues with his gearbox. He's got to get out there and he's got to set a good time. So as they were saying, and I think I mentioned this at Brands Hatch, they have a moon map, which is the send it to the moon. So I don't think, maybe not see that in Attack 2, but if it makes it through to Super Attack, I think that's what we're going to see being used.
I think it's like you said, it's the literally last session of the year. You got all winter and half of spring, 2/3 of spring to rebuild. So just send it to the moon at that point.
Yeah.
Crank it all the way up. Dean Riley going very well today in the VX 220. So actually on that, it appears that Eden Young has needed to go home. That car now poorly, it seems. So he has had to duck out for the remainder of the day, which means that, well, actually, this is Dean Riley's to lose at this point.
Yep.
Mark Donnelly isn't here. He's already got first place sewn up. Eden Young's needed to go home. We've got Michael Greenhue, but actually he had a problem as well, didn't he, earlier on? Looking at
so
it.
Mike has had to get. Also, his car is back on the trailer, so he had. I think he dropped a wheel and ended up in one of the barriers.
What it was.
Yeah,
okay.
so that car is on the trailers. So yeah, Dean Riley out there with the fastest time on track at the moment with a 121.37. I say that.
What? Never mind.
Just beat by Kęstutis Dobrowolski. So and then. But yeah, so Dean Riley out there, all the points that he can get today, but he can only get, I think, second place in the championship.
That's it, yep.
So that championship is pretty sewn up. Then we look at Pocket Rocket NA, because of course we've got all of these cars out there. So I believe Ryan Barker has got first place sewn up. So if I just look down, and I believe that is leading from...
First and second are done, so the battle is for third.
Okay, so then, so Mark Roberts, Stephen Wilkins, so Wilco, and then it was against
Marcin Baczkiewicz.
But he's not here today, so again,
true.
Everyone be very keen to get out there, get those points, critical points for the championship, to bring home second and third.
Yeah, I think I saw something about Martin breaking his car or something, as in like, you know, breaking it for parts or something like that. So I think his time attack journey in that car is well and truly over. So, yep, that would then make one think that perhaps Stephen Wilkinson has this one in the bag in the K-swapped Clio. We have fewer K-swapped Clios this year, don't we?
We do, and this is going to be the last time we see Wilco in the K-swapped Clio. Yes, yeah, unfortunately, so he's decided, that's it with the car, so we're not going to see him back next year.
In that car, or he's stepping away?
I don't quite know at the moment, but yeah,
Fair
definitely in the last round in the K-Swap Clio.
Oh, I think we just saw a bit of flames out of the back of Kęstutis' GTR there. 30,000 track miles, if I've understood correctly, which is quite a lot of miles on track. That's a lot.
That is good going.
That's
yeah,
good going.
For sure.
A winter rebuild pending, from what I understand, perhaps at the hands of Alex Volkov, our neighborhood GTR expert. Not only GTRs though, I was following his various social feeds. He had a nice, like, GT3 RS or GT2 RS, something like that, in his workshop. So some very fancy and fast stuff. This is interesting, actually. Let's maybe keep the camera on this. This is Owen Llewellyn in the LMS Mazda MX-5, all the way back from 1997 in the classic and retro cars. Car number 98. And you can see that it's on a hot lap because its headlights are up. Woo! Very cute. Look at that. Look at his little face. Look at it. Look at it go. They were very busy fixing some stuff. I love MX-5s. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. But I didn't really get a chance. I didn't want to probe and like start asking questions when they're fixing stuff. You know, the beauty of Time Attack is that the paddock is open. Those of you who are here today will hopefully know this, and you can come and wander around. And if you're building a certain car, I've seen lots of MX-5s here today, for example, you can come and get some inspiration from the cars that are doing the real tough work on track. Oh, someone's come off.
Who are we seeing there?
Is that Stephen Wilkinson? Sorry, not Stephen Wilkinson.
Is it Stephen House?
That's who I was thinking of. Maybe Stephen House? He is, yeah, 286.
One of the minis.
2, 3, something. I think that is Stephen House, yeah. In his, well, it was new for 2025. I mean, we've done a full season now, but carbon-bodied, very powerful. But he's got it going again, which is great. I think what we might be able to deduce is that the conditions are getting a bit greasy at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that little MX-5 of Owen Llewellyn still naturally aspirated. Just a point of housekeeping, if you do come and wander around the paddock, you know, to take my example, if you can see that the team are stressing and trying to fix stuff and you're busy, don't start, you know, poking your nose in. Read the room. Common sense applies. So I didn't get a chance to have a conversation with them, but I did take a look at the car. It's still naturally aspirated. In Classic and Retro, you can run whatever aspiration you want. You can even run engine swaps, as we saw in the case of Eden. But in the case of Owen's MX-5, still naturally aspirated. Little buzzy buzz box with pop-up lights. Incredible. Great stuff.
See, I just wanted to check down. So Stephen House running in Pocket Rocket Force Induction. As I was saying, again, that championship very, very close. And actually, the fastest car in Pocket Rocket Force Induction at the moment is Gary Papworth. So in that single round entry, we've seen Gary pop up a few rounds this year. And it's the fastest time in a 1:22.872. He's leading Tommy Langley, who's then leading Stephen House. So actually, Rafael Chicharis is running fourth, so no points for him. And again, I don't know what that means for the championship because they are all so close. And I couldn't tell you what that works out kind of like point-wise. But again, we're just going to see Pocket Rocket Force Induction Championship. And it's all on the line for these guys at the moment.
Annie Thompson there in that Exige. Perhaps a little bit poorly.
Well, I'm not seeing any smoke from that, so I don't know if they've been able to kind of like resolve that issue, if maybe it had just been a little bit overfilled and it's kind of like pushing oil out, but doesn't seem to be at all smoky there, so seems to be going well.
I mean, yeah, looking at it, I mean, it tends that when people do lots of track work with a 2GR, they do overfill it quite considerably. And then you can see that it's, you know, it's doing the little puffs of smoke now and then. This doesn't really look like it's doing that at all, does it? It looks. Oh my goodness! Big sideways moment from her. Nicely caught though. Okay, a little bit, especially given that I think she dropped a few wheels onto the grass as well. And when that happens, then you're rolling the dice almost. But luckily or skillfully, she managed to keep that together. No harm done. But
look,
yeah,
look how close
it looks greasy out there.
Yeah, and look how close Clubman is. So we've got Dan Buckingham leading Clubman with a 1:21.4, Clive Hopwell with a 1:22.6, and then Annie Thompson with a 1:22.8. So literally, my maths isn't very good at the moment.
Well, 1.4 seconds between the three of them, but between Clive and Annie, we've got less than 0.2 of a second between them.
Yeah.
And that's for second and third in class.
0.015. So yeah, really, really close.
Wow.
Between these very, very different cars as well. But like you say, I'm just keeping an eye out for whether, I was going to say, if people have got their wipers on, which we see.
Yeah, they do.
There, and they do have their wipers on, and that's going to be playing into probably these front-wheel drive cars into their favour, as the track may develop and get quite greasy. So as we're seeing the cars moving around a lot on track. And definitely the most treacherous conditions I think you can get on track when it just starts to rain. And especially when the cars have been out there laying rubber. So then, of course, the racing line has all of this rubber on there. Then the rain comes down, and that actually makes the racing line the least grippy part of the track. So you want to stay off that line. But it's like, at what point do you kind of like transition over? So
I'd imagine, especially by the end of the year. They had like a whole year of rubber being put down, right? I think now it's going to be even worse than, say, at the start of the year.
Yeah, and so that heavy rain will kind of, and
even the Golf R is moving around.
Exactly. So
wow.
So yeah, so it'll be at what point do they?
I think you can hear raindrops.
Yeah, I can actually hear that on the camera.
Yeah.
So at what point do they start kind of like moving off the racing line? And there might be some corners at which they have to do that and some not, because as we know, it can be different conditions around different corners of the circuit.
You can see the heat haze radiating out of the sides of Clive Hopwell. There was one shot in particular where you could see that. That was really interesting. So I guess perhaps, you know, the brakes or all the turbocharged stuff that the Golf R is going on. But it looked like there was heat haze coming from the sides of that car. So getting pretty toasty indeed.
Yeah, and I just want to again make sure. So going down to Pocket Rocket.
Yeah, look, it's still moving around. Look at that. Yeah.
Pocket Rocket NA. So we've got Ryan Barker leading with a 1:26.09 from Mark Roberts with a 1:29.23. And I know I was speaking to Mark earlier. He's saying he had gearbox issues yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, were you on a test day?" And he's like, "No, I was just reversing the car off my drive, and his gearbox went." So awful luck. So he's on basically a standard box again. With, as he said, completely the wrong ratios for Snetterton. So really unfortunate, but yeah, it just goes to show. Technical issues or mechanical issues can happen at any time.
Yep, no improvement there, I think, from Clive Hopwell in the Golf R. It does seem to be moving around a fair bit now, and of course he's got the Haldex Volkswagen fancy stuff, and even that's moving around. So, yep, looks pretty challenging out there. Stephen House, who we previously saw take a little excursion off the track, perhaps hinting at the conditions. Now he's back up and running pretty happily now. Stephen House, currently, where is he now? He is currently third in Pocket Rocket Force Induction with a 125.1.
But just behind Tommy Langley, and Tommy Langley was, again, between them all, they're so very close. I don't actually know what this means for the championship. We need some rather elaborate spreadsheets to work that out. And again, you can't really work that out until the end of the day.
Because of the drop round.
Yeah, because of the 2 drop rounds. So yeah, it makes things incredibly difficult for us to work out on the fly. All we know is it's very, very close and there's everything to play for.
Look at this particular camera, you can hear the drop. You can hear the raindrops. It even looks a bit misty. I think that corner is looking pretty wet, actually. Great stuff. Of course, those of you who are here in person at Modified Live, firstly, thank you for coming all the way out and enjoying the show. Look, I think Clive Hopwell's just outbraked himself and fallen off the track there. So it's look, yep, there we go. He's gone down the escape road. So pretty greasy. Those of you who are watching from the trackside, thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully you had the foresight to check the weather forecast and bring a brolly, because it looks pretty greasy, starting to look pretty challenging. The little E36 in Classic and Retros, not really a driver that we've seen a great deal of. That would be Luke Taylor, I believe, in the Matthews Motorsports BMW E36, a single round entry.
So we saw him out at Brands Hatch.
We did, yeah.
And we've not seen him back since then. No. So again, I think.
Oh, in fact, there we go. Let's just look at it. Yep.
Yeah. Well,
you can see a little dab of Oppo there as well.
That's going to be a real handful in these conditions as well. As he was saying, he's got 170 horsepower. So compared to like some of these cars, really, really kind of like down on power, but. And again, and now the challenge of the weather.
Well, look, now we've got the MX-5 and the E36. I think it's probably going to be pretty even between the two of them.
Yeah, who's going to have the most opposite look? That's going to be the question.
So let's see. Owen Llewellyn, a 137.7, his current best. And where is the plucky little E36? 137.2, so half a second between Luke Taylor and Owen Llewellyn.
You can see they're just trying to push on around the corners. Yeah, so you get probably a little bit of understeer on the front end and then the rear end kind of like big understeer. Yeah,
so indeed very closely matched between these two. Both single round entries, so not really going to feature in the championship. But an interesting little battle is developing here between, I would imagine, on paper, in terms of power to weight and so on, these are probably quite closely matched machines, and their lap times would support that. Whoa! Look at that! Whoa. Nice slide there as well.
Yeah, I mean...
Very greasy indeed coming out of Murray's.
Yeah, if you needed any verification to whether the track is getting greasy, I think that has been it. But and of course, we've got these timing screens before us, and we're used to, normally as we go through the session, just seeing lots of green popping out where people were getting their personal bests from the lap or the sector, and I have not seen anything go green for the majority of this session, in fact. So I think drivers at the moment, we've only got 15 seconds left on the clock anyway, but yeah, I don't think we're going to see any times improving.
Yeah, I think I even saw a little piece of mud fall off the car, so I think perhaps at some point somewhere he's picked up a little bit of grass or debris or something. It's just all muddy and greasy and looking pretty difficult out there. You see the checkered flag has come out, so those drivers who are currently on a hot lap will be able to finish them. But I don't think anyone is really going to be taking that up, because these are not very fast conditions, especially compared to how the session began. So I don't think we're going to see any improvements here. So
we're like between 5 and 10 seconds down on fastest time. So, you know, and again, it might not be a hot lap, but yes, no improvements at times.
Yeah, let's run through our provisional results then. So in Clubman Plus, it's Kestis Dobrovolskis at the top of the leaderboard with a 1:20.8. And then in Clubman, it's in Classic and Retro, it's Dean Riley with a 1:21.3 ahead of Luke Taylor and Owen Llewellyn. In Clubman, it's Dan Buckingham with a 1:21.4 ahead of Clive Hopwell, Annie Thompson, Ryan Barker, Paul Newman, and Soren Georgi. Oh, that's wiped my timing screen there. Let's take a look at, what have we done? Clubman Plus, Pocket Rocket Force Induction then. Gary Papworth at the top, even though he has a single round entry, ahead of Langley, House, Tsartsaris. And in Pocket Rocket Naturally Aspirated, it's Ryan Barker ahead of Roberts, Allflat, Wilkinson, Vieira, and Blackburn. Mark Blackburn there in the 197 Clio. Those are our provisional results. Our drivers will head into Parc Ferme to have everything checked over, make sure they're still legal and good as per the technical regulations, and we will see them back in a little while for the super attack later on in the afternoon. But first, we have the Racing Hondas Championship Race 2. And we will be getting that underway after this short little break.
Motegi Racing was conceived with one mission in mind: performance. Each wheel is over-engineered to ensure industry-leading strength, lightweight design, and seamless connection to your unique style. From our storied past in motorsports to our stylistic contributions to the aftermarket culture, one thing remains: Motegi Racing is built for enthusiasts.
Brace yourselves, ladies and gents, because this is it. 15 races completed, one more still to go. And just to add the extra bit of variety, not only do we have a partial reverse grid, the heavens have opened for the final race of the season. So what more drama could you wish for? The cars are currently on a formation lap round to the grid, like out of the assembly area, led by the safety car, just to give a bit more of a safer run. They probably will give them 2 formation laps in order to try and get a grasp on the conditions, because they have changed compared to the 3 sessions that we've had previously earlier on today, with the practice session, with qualifying, and with the first race all taking place in dry conditions. But now, with the top 8 reversed in all classes, well, technically just Class A and Class B, because we're just swapping around the 2 Class C drivers but on that side. Could be interesting as well. So as the cars form up onto the grid, of course, we've had new champions crowned the past 2 weekends. Of course, with Dan Thackeray overall in Class B. We've had as well with Self in Class A today and Matt Rowley in Class C. But of course, one driver who's an outgoing champion, but also somebody who could still get runner-up in the championship this weekend, is Ryan Cunningham. So he's running the last race of the season with number 1 on the door. And to find out how he's feeling about this weekend and how he's feeling about the last weekend of the season, earlier on this morning, before racing actually got underway, he spoke to Charlie over in the paddock.
Oh, I am down in the pits with our Class B runner-up, Ryan. First off, congratulations. We're heading into Snet today, fighting for the overall 2nd place. Feeling confident?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. We've run free practice to bed some discs and pads in.
Yep.
Fresh rubber for quali. Away we go.
No, absolutely. Obviously, we missed you at Not Kill. Hopefully get some vital points today.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Obviously, just out of racing, a lot of family stuff and work. So, yeah, unfortunately, I'm absolutely still gutted now that I've missed it. But well, we planned the whole holiday around these 2 rounds, to be fair, and to miss it was just like, well, but yeah, so make up for it today.
No, absolutely.
And chase for that 2nd overall.
Yeah, definitely. How have you found the season overall as well?
I've loved it, to be honest. I wouldn't really race anywhere else. I say I try and get as many people in as I can.
Yeah.
Paddock's great. It's just a good championship to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I said that from last year and the few rounds I did the year before that. So yeah, but on that, I'd just like to say thanks to Kent Models for the support this year, FMC and Motion as well for making sure the car's been perfect all year and last year, to be fair.
No, absolutely. It's amazing how much of a difference it makes having such a good team around you.
Yeah, definitely. It takes element of worry as well. I mean, when I first started, I did a couple of rounds by myself, and I'm sat on the grid thinking, oh, I've done this. Is that right? I've done it.
Yeah,
Whereas
of course.
These boys, they do every day. They know it inside out. So I know every time I get in the car, it's going to be bang on.
Yeah, and that's what you need, isn't it? Clear mind, heading in, first corner, just go for it. Brilliant stuff. Well, good luck for today. Thank you.
Cheers.
So there we are, Ryan Cunningham, who is running, as I mentioned, his last race as number 1 on the window for this season. Of course, that'll transfer to Dan Thackeray for this one. Now, as you mentioned, the grid is a partial reverse, with the top 8 being drawn in both Class A and Class B. And this is how it looks. Despite his car crawling to a halt after crossing the line with issues, Kevin Talbot starts this race from pole position. He could be the favourite here if all the issues are solved. Alongside him, hoping fingers crossed for a really good result, is Fraser McNeil from the front row of the grid. He's been here before a couple of times. Can he convert that into a first podium? If he can, it would be his best result of the season to date. It's an all EK Civic 2nd row with James Alford ahead of Dave Buki, then Philip Wright, who starts in 5th position, and Josh Harvey, who took his first Racing Honda's podium in race 1 in 3rd place. Then Bob Barron, who will also be hoping the conditions work to his favour, and Manudi Crown Class A champion Will Self, also going for 2nd place overall in the championship. We'll get onto that connotation in a second. The last of the Class A cars is Jordan Morgan's, and no Liam Collins, sadly. His car does not take the start. I can't see it on the grid, neither in the pit lane, so sadly he will not finish the season in the race. In terms of Class B, the pole position for the reverse grid goes to Spencer Fortag alongside Danny Weston. One occasion for him to start his 2nd ever race in the championship from the front row of the grid in class. Then it's Sammy Milam and Lewis Barker from Ryan Cunningham, who's also in contention for that 2nd place overall. And Dan Thackeray, unstoppable Dan, now with 12 class wins. Can he come from basically 8th in class to make it a 13th? It's unlucky for some, but is it going to be lucky for Dan on this occasion? From 17th backwards, we then look back to the last of our Class B cars, which is Sam Linster, who had some issues in race 1 with damage. Luke Crass many tangled with Harry Greenhill before, so he'll start at 18th and 19th respectively. Owen Diver starts back the back of Class B and P20. And then our 2 Class C runners for one final time this season. Matt Rowling ahead of Callum Houchin, the champion ahead of the man in 2nd place. So before I quickly bring in Ian Waterhouse as they go off on the first of, I expect there 2 formation laps, given there is a change in conditions. This is how the championship stands coming into the final race of the season. We've decided all our class champions, overall champions decided. The big one still to the side is runner-up spot in the overall title battle between Will Self in Class A and Ryan Cunningham in Class B. According to the coordinator, Carl McKellar, who's given me the information, and I quote, Self has an 8-point advantage over Cunningham in the fight to be the overall championship runner-up. He needs a top 3 in class to do it, but Cunningham needs to finish P4 in class or better, plus the fastest lap minimum, in order to make it depend on what Self does in this one as well. So even though most of the championship titles, if not all of them, are settled in Waterhouse, with myself, Scott Woodward, alongside for the final time, this could still be quite an interesting prospect. What we could certainly see for most people here, they just want to get a good result and get some bragging rights, but ultimately now we've got a little bit of wet weather in the mix as well. It's not fully wet, it's more intermediate conditions. That's usually the worst kind of conditions that drivers want. You either want it one way or the other. It's right in the middle. This could get spicy.
Just what we like as well, isn't it, Scott? Plenty of nice and easy maths there for us to work out on the final race. But we could have asked for anything better. Could we? Round 16, the final race of the season for the Racing Hondas Championship. And the weather gods have thrown a spanner in the works, haven't they, indeed, as they just make their way around Murray's now back onto the start-finish straight here. Greasy conditions on the track. Talking to Alexi a little bit earlier when we're talking about the conditions that drivers hate, and they are this sort of mid-moment, aren't they? It's raining, but it's not particularly raining hard, but it's greasy, it's damp, but it's not properly wet yet either. So yes, this has all the makings of something quite special.
I wonder if the lap behind the safety car out of assembly was their one first kind of formation lap to get used to the conditions. The second one's back round to the grids. They've done their 2 laps to get used to the
I think
conditions.
you're absolutely spot on
so
there.
That could be the case.
It's worked out quite well for Kevin Talbot, all of this as well, hasn't it?
It has. Certainly he's going to try redeeming himself after some issues he had from race number 1. So, this is it then. 15 races complete, 1 still to go. The cars forming up one by one. The Class B cars just starting to very steadily move their way into position. And Fraser starting on the outside of the front row of the grid. Hopefully should get possibly a good start because he's on the slightly flatter part of the course on that side. And I have to say, for this being a first season commentator in racing Hondas, I've thoroughly adored it from start to finish. And I hope this race gives us a fitting send-off for what's been an incredible third season for the championship. But you never drill, you never saying. It is all calm and quiet until the VTEC kicks in. And for the final time in 2025, we're all set for it then. Brace yourselves, this could be a good one. So, Kevin Talbot starts the final race of the season on pole position. The 5-second board is up. We are ready for Racing Hondas. One last dance in 2025. The red lights are on at Snetterton. We are go! Yeah. Strong start initially from Kevin Talbot. Fraser's gone with him. A cracking start for Dave Buki, up to third already. Not hanging around either of the 3 EG Civics. Jordan Morgans goes practically nowhere towards the back of Class A, and everyone in Class B pours past him. But down towards turn 1, it's side by side for the lead into Ritchie's. There's a little bit of fisticuffs and there's contact. Round goes James Alford, round goes Bob Barron. Off the road to quality goal. Will Self, he's gone off the road. That could be massively crucial for the championship in the runner-up spot because he's right down the order. He's not towards the back, and Fraser McNeil's off the road down at the hairpin at Wilson. There's 3 cars off in the space of 2 corners. So both the Kilty K-Swaps cars are off. 3 of the EGs are off the road. Into the lead of the race has gone Kevin Talbot. Second is Dave Buki. Third is now the third place man, which is the Josh Harvey. Fourth is now Phil Wright. Fifth now overall, and leading Class B is Lewis Barker. What a cracking start he's had because of all the Class A shenanigans around him as they come back down towards Brandon Nelson. Harvey already challenging Buki, but that was a messy start to the first couple of corners. But more importantly, Will Self contending for that overall second spot in the championship in getting tangled up in incidents he did not need to be involved in.
Oh, it's exactly what he didn't want, isn't it? And Fraser McNeil as well, it made a good point down here. Starting on the left-hand side, that's actually the should be the slightly drier side. We do have a safety car, I believe, now as well coming out. I wonder if there's still a couple of those cars that are unable to get going again up by Wilson. Let's have a look at the circuit cams as well. Not seeing too much, but wow, dramatic start here for round 16 of the Racing Hondas Championship.
Well, if Bob Barron was the one that's caused the yellow flag, well, his door's currently open, but he's going down towards Wilson Hairpin. There he is. I think his car was the one that was stationary. He got it moving again. It's now not in the view of where the incident was. This reminds me a bit of Knock Hill, as Bob Barron, in fact, sadly, and looking at our CCTV cameras, has pulled off the road. So I'm afraid the double Knock Hill winner is not going to score in the final race of the championship. And of course, in this one, there are no drop scores to use in either race this weekend. So obviously, if you get a 0 score, it has to count as to your final points total in the end.
I'll tell you, can I say, Dave Buki, watch out for him. P2 now behind the safety car now, of course. They all bunch up again. So we'll get a cracking restart here. Josh Harvey, of course, there. Probably exactly what Kevin Talbot didn't want, because he just, for the first half of that lap, managed to get a little bit of daylight after Fraser McNeil, of course, went off from second place. But he did have to dry line Fraser McNeil, and they were side by side going into Riches. It was a fantastic start. But we are now behind the safety car, 12.5 minutes to go. Behind the safety car, of course, the time does continue to tick down. So we're still in racing conditions just behind the safety car.
So Kevin Talbot in the lead, which the safety car's coming in this lap. I think it was such a quick safety car because of the fact that it was for Bob Barron's car that was stationary. He's now moved it to a safer position on the inside of the exit of Wilson Hairpin. That means he's going to be okay. So Kevin Talbot, we can keep quick stock of where we are, though. The key thing to watch out for, I'll get to where Will Self is in a second. So Kevin Talbot leads the way. He's aiming for his 4th win of the season. Dave Bucke has not scored a podium all season. His best result so far this year is 5th place 3 times. So he's going to try and emulate again. No, 4 times. He finished 5th in race 1 earlier on, I think he did. So Josh Harvey in 3rd place, looking for his 2nd podium. Phil Wright's in there too. Now critically, Will Self is currently 5th of the point score in Class A cars and 14th overall, whereas Ryan Cunningham is 3rd in class, ahead of Dan Thackeray and behind Barker and Fortank. He can try and push forwards if he can make that happen. He's got a couple of Class A cars to try and pick his way through if they can. But in these ever slippery conditions, this is going to be so tricky. So the safety car escapes. Kevin Talbot decides when to get the race back underway as he gingerly makes his way in towards Murray's corner. Top 4 are stacked up right behind him as they turn out of Murray's corner. Now he puts his foot down. Green flag conditions once again. So with 11 minutes to go in this final race of the season, Kevin Talbot trying to get a victory here, whereas Josh Harvey is on his toes. He can't pass before the line. He times it perfectly. Down the pit straight down towards Ritchie's back under green flag conditions. He'll go down the outside where there will be more grip if he can hold on. Turns into the right-hander and has to capitulate and hold back. This might give Phil Wright a chance to get back into it in 4th position. But the key thing to watch out for here is how much more progress Will Self makes from 14th, but crucially 5th in point scorers in Class A.
Good driving by Bucke down into the Riches here. We saw that one coming, and now round Wilson as well. Put his car in the perfect place. Is that right there? And Harvey almost touching him. Might have just been a little tap, nothing more than that, as they now pound down the Bentley straight.
There was a tiny bit of spark. Looks like there was a tiny rub between the two of them. They're going to be side by side for 3rd place down the back straight. Another test of 2 generations of Civic, 3 generations in fact. It's EK versus EG versus EP3. The 3 all chronologically together in some kind of order in that section. Class B could be a very interesting battle. Lewis Barker leads it. Now, given where he's been so far this season, he put his first podium last time out at Knock Hill with 2nd place. He's only taken 1 podium. Before that, he'd taken 5 4th place finishes. How much would he love to end the season in which he's been getting stronger with a class win? But of course he's got Fortag, Cunningham and Thackeray right behind him as the leader gets a massive sideways moment. I think just heard in the background, massive sideways moment through Coram there for Kevin Talbot. Using front-wheel drive, he's managed to keep the front end going. Now for 2nd place though, Phil Wright puts the pressure on to Dave Bucke, little touch of the curb, and they're both leaving Josh Harvey behind. This is interesting. So Phil Wright has passed Josh Harvey. No, Phil Wright has dropped Josh Harvey. Now he's side by side with Bucke down the pit straight. Bucke fights back, but at this point in time, it's going to be side by side, and Wright, who is local to this circuit, trying to get a good result to finish the year.
Wright's through as well, isn't he? He's got a job done into Riches. This Class B battle's going to be so exciting as well between Barker, Fortag, McNeil. McNeil's Class A. He's coming through quite well, actually. Fraser McNeil started in 2nd, of course, dropped down the order. Cunningham and Thackeray, 8th and 9th on track, but 3rd and 4th in Class B. You mentioned how important all of that could be as well. I wonder if we remember from race 1, Kevin Talbot had a lightning start.
There's Dan Thackeray. He's still skating off the road. That will help Ryan Cunningham in terms of points. And also an extra car that Will Self doesn't have to pass to get himself up the order overall. It won't affect him points-wise that Thackeray's gone off the road. But the overall and Class B champion is almost skating off the road. He just gathered it up on the exit. Skating off the road actually at the hairpin is Jordan Morgans, who's had a bit of a tricky first weekend of a championship. And now you get a real a drag race between Class A and Class B. That's the speed difference. This could be also changed as well because Barker's lost the lead in Class B. He's about to lose 2nd unless he can hold on to Ryan Cunningham round through Brundle and Nelson. Through the right-hander. Just covers him off neatly, but he'll have better traction on the exit. Slots back in front of him. So P2, if Barker stays where he is, will match his best finish from Knock Hill last time, but not if he does stuff like that. Huge sideways moment through the right-hander, and that's the involved Cunningham. Cunningham's off the road, so both the contenders for overall 2nd place hitting trouble in this race. Cunningham's off the road onto the grass. That'll send him tumbling down the Class B order, and that has more connotations on runner-up in the championship. And there's still half the race to go. It is going off in this final race.
It was like a huge tank slam. I thought he was going to hold it for a minute as well. well, but unfortunately, a good driving by Cunningham to avoid that as well. That could have been quite the impact, but fortunately, both cars do not touch. Perhaps a little bit of pride hurt more than anything else there. Talbot still leads, though, after 4 laps, but Phil Wright's just put in the fastest lap of the race, a 1:30.045 in these very tricky, greasy conditions here for the final time. One last dance for the Racing Honda Championship here at Snetterton in 2025.
Top 4 down the back straight. Still Talbot from Wright, from Buki, from Harvey. And Phil Wright is going after Kevin Talbot here. The gap was 1.1 seconds across the line. If I look at lap times in terms of how much quicker they were, Wright should set the fastest lap of the race, 1:30.045. That's 1.4 seconds quicker than Medici 5 Integra in front. So Talbot now possibly under threat from a charging Phil Wright, who is at his local circuit. The other thing to watch out for here too, Dave Buki's in 3rd position. Again, if he can get a podium, how much of a popular top 3 is that going to be, particularly with these 3? Talbot going from what was the back of Class A in race 1 to the front in race 2. Phil Wright trying to get a podium at his home circuit, and Dave Buki, if he gets 3rd position, there's going to be raptures on the podium later on when he gets there. Through Murray's now for what will be the 5th time of asking. 6 3/4 minutes to go.
Well,
now the charge for leads. They go down the pit straight.
Surely Phil Wright's going to get the job done here on Kevin Talbot. Remember race 1, I was saying a little bit earlier before we got very excited. Kevin Talbot had a lightning start, didn't he, to the first half of race 1, and then it started to fall apart a little bit. So fingers crossed that car can make the full 15 minutes. We've got 6 minutes left to go. You're right, Dave Buki, one of the first drivers I ever interviewed in motorsport back in, must have been about 2019. So a lovely, lovely chap indeed. Fingers crossed he can take the podium here. Of course, we don't have any favourites, but I really want Buki to get a podium.
It would be fantastic. So there's part of me that also wants to get him too. I shouldn't have favourites, but he's a popular character in the paddock. He's not only does he race his own EK Civic, he runs the 3 cars that are in the mix as well. Now, I want to say something. We're going to get a flag. Someone's off the road. Yeah, but also I'm keeping an eye on the fact that Phil Wright is not in exactly the same pace as he was. He's not 2 tenths behind Kevin Talbot like he was before. He's fading back a little bit, but you are right. There is somebody off at Ritchie's that I can see. The Class C battle goes past our pit lane, but I can see there is a car off in the gravel. If our cameras can catch that, we'll wait and see. For about it's Daniel Weston's off the road, thanks for spotting it on the CCTV camera. So Dan Weston, but Davison in Class B, he's gone quite far off the road. There are yellow flags down there. I suspect he might be far off enough to not have to worry. Hopefully a safety car, they might just cover that with yellows.
It's a tricky position though, isn't it? If he's gone straight on, I mean, you're carrying a lot of pace as you approach Riches, but fingers crossed, yeah. He's driven it further in as well, I think, to try and get it out the way, which is good, a smart move.
Yeah, so hopefully it's not going to be a safety car, otherwise it might mean this race ends under one, and fingers crossed we don't get that.
Well, David Buki might not be too disappointed if that's the case, currently in 3rd.
Hopefully they might just cover that with yellows for the rest of the 5 minutes, which means that into Ritchie's corner, passing is a no-go. Now, interestingly enough, Buki's really pulled away from Josh Harvey. The gap was but 3 seconds, and lap time-wise, he was 1 second quicker. So Buki's got genuine pace there that he's been threatening all season to try and find in the CK Civic. How delighted would he be to get that top position? I really hope this is a commentator's blessing rather than a commentator's curse at this point.
Do you think Josh Harvey's just backed off a little bit after a couple of hairy moments at the start of this race and dropped down the order a touch? And he was right at the back. In fact, it was him, Wright and Buki in that battle, and ever since Wright's got in front, he's just sort of drifted back a little bit and allowed Buki some space. I wonder if he's just thinking, do you know what, last race, just bring the car home.
Potentially, and of course it's his first weekend in the championship. He wants to get a clean run in that car, hopefully with a view to coming back next season. Challenge on for 5th in Class B, so Class A. This, of course, will be for 4th in point scorers for Class A, because Josh Harvey, remember, is a guest, so he doesn't score anything. He's visible for points. Check it with Class B. Spencer 4-tag leads in Class B, and he hasn't actually won a in Class all season. He has got a best of 2nd place at the 2nd race at Donington Park, but since then, in his last 6 races, he's finished third on the podium twice in Class, a 4th and 3 DNF. Didn't even score anything at Knock Hill. Just to get himself this is before Snetterton, I should add. So if he can get himself a Class victory at the last race of the season, that would break the domination, genuinely, of Dan Thackeray and Ryan Cunningham, because up to this point, it has been either Dan or Ryan winning every single race. So if he can do that, that would be a really nice bookend to the season for Class B. Just under 3.5 minutes to go, and sideways to Fraser McNeil. I told you he was mental. Out of the left-hander at Murray's, and look at that, the mistake he made was easy prey for Will Self. That gives him more points to go up into the standings. Now, in terms of where Ryan Cunningham is, he's currently 6th in Class. Will Self is now 4th of point scorers in Class, and apparently at that point when Self was a little bit further back, it was swinging towards Cunningham. Now that Cunningham's back in 6th in Class B. It's now gone back towards Self. So we think essentially it's now going more towards Self for the overall second place. But there's Spencer in the FN2. I wonder if the FN2 is maybe a little more user-friendly in these wet conditions compared to the EP3, because it's being a newer car. Some say it's the least popular of the Civic Type R's, but I think Spencer Fortek would certainly argue that case for it rather than against it at this point in time with 2.5 minutes to go.
He certainly will, and I was talking about Kevin Talbot and Phil Wright going toe-to-toe in this race. I thought Phil Wright was going to breeze past Kevin Talbot. However, the lap before last, Kevin Talbot put in the fastest lap of the race, a 1:29.833. The gap is a second. We've got 2 minutes 20 seconds left
changed
on the clock. Oh, he has got through.
He's
Phil Wright
changed.
has got through.
It has changed. So Phil Wright now leads the race with 2 laps to go, I'd say, because we've got 2 minutes 10 to go. Lap time-wise, they're doing 1 minute 30. So Phil Wright, the local driver, looking to get a victory, which would be, if he can hold on to it, it would be his 3rd win of the season. Hasn't won a race since Brands Hatch Race 2, the first visit we had back in June. So if he can get himself a victory to round off the season at his local circuit, that would certainly be the icing on top of the cake for him in a season where he's had to come up with 2nd in Class A.
I think that's my fault, actually, so I'm definitely not going to go see Kevin Talbot off this race.
Still, 2nd place would be a silver lining considering what he had in race 1.
Absolutely.
But you can see the murkiness of the conditions getting a little trickier. But Talbot's not quite finished with this yet. He's keeping right under check here as they come out of Wilson Hairpin onto the back straight. You can see in the infield there the drift cars enjoying the wet conditions here on the 100 circuit, which is
perfect for them, isn't it?
This weekend,
yeah,
certainly
absolutely.
is. Been plenty of that all season between several cars, including Will Self, who currently, as we said, is 4th in Class A, and considering that Cunningham is back in 6th in Class B, we think that that's enough outscoring to be able to hold on to 2nd place overall. And of course, there's no change for any class titles because provisionally they're all settled already in favour of Dan Thackeray, Will Self, and Matt Rowling, respectively. Out of Brundle and Nelson and in towards the bomb hole for what will be the second to last time, preparing to start the last lap of the season.
Yeah, emotional times, say final time around in 2025. Although next year's looking good as well, I've got to say, Scott. So we'll touch on that maybe as the checkered flag falls once the cars have completed. But let's stay with the action, shall we? Because Phil Wright looks like, if he can keep it on track, will take the victory. He's got 1 more lap to go, though. He's just coming up over the start-finish straight now. Still 30 seconds left as he starts his final lap of 2025.
And what was going on ahead of though, I just noticed the Class C battle was going on into Murray's. Crossing the line at the end of the previous lap, not the one we just completed, but the one before that, Callum Houcher was ahead of Matt Rowling. Matt had got ahead at the line, but Callum out-dragged him on the run towards Richie's corner, and of course with the yellows, there's no overtaking. Here's the Class C battle, onto what will be, I think will be their last lap of the race, considering if Phil and Kevin can negotiate them on the back straight, given the pace advantage they have. So this will be essentially their last lap. If Callum can end the season with another victory, that would certainly be a high for him to go through, and in fact it will be the last lap, because Phil Wright is going to power past them in the EG Civic. Onto the back straight for the final time in the championship, and Phil Wright will look to end the season where he's been a former champion before in 2023 and has pushed hard to try and get himself in the mix. So I think through the misfortunes of others and keeping the consistency, Phil has been able to do so. In fact, apart from the first race at Cadwell Park, he's finished every single race, and he hasn't actually finished lower than 5th. So he's finished in the top 5 in every single race that he's managed to get to the checkered flag for. But as he comes out of the bomb hole towards Coram, it's been an incredible 3rd season full of action, full of excitement, full of plenty of great memories, lots of standout moments, and this has been an incredible championship to watch. And 2026 is only going to be a stronger and stronger year for the championship. Talbot keeps on pushing as they put a lap on Jordan Morgan's, but out of the final corner for the final time in 2025, Phil Wright is going to make the local fans pretty happy with this one, as he will himself. Up to the checkered flag to set the final race of the season, the Racing Holders 2025, to bookend the season. Phil Wright takes his 3rd win of the season and wins the final round of Racing Holders 2025 in fine style in mixed conditions. It is 2nd place for Kevin Talbot. In the background also you can see Callum Houchin makes it a double in Class C, flash of the headlights, and of course 2nd place more than confirms it. And Dave Bookie has his first Racing Honda's Class A podium, 3rd place for the EK Civic. That is a popular result, and I tell you what, if anyone's going to be buzzing, it will be Dave. That is sensational. 4th goes to Josh Harvey, and of course he's not a point scorer, but he'll be pleased with 3rd and 4th for his first weekend of a championship. And hopefully I can say, yeah, I've got the confirmation from Carl McKellar himself. Hey. Taking 5th on the road, but 4th in point scorers, it will be Harvey that will gets to Class B, the overall 2nd place. in the standings. And for Class B, it's a win for Spencer Fortag. So he breaks the domination of Dan Thackeray and Ryan Cunningham. Spencer Fortag takes a first win of the season for the FN2. Second to Sammy Milam, who gets his best podium. That's another reason for Dave Buckley to be excited, because his best result up to that point, Sammy Milam, was third back at Cadwell at the start of the season. So Sammy Milam gets a second place in class and third place for the new champion Dan Thackeray. Excellent job from him, from Sam Linsner and Ryan Cunningham, with Luke Crassus-Menu and Harry Greenhill. Then James Orford, Len Lewis Barker and Jordan Morgans did make it through. The only car that we didn't see finish the race, well, one was Weston, the other one I think was Bob Barron. Sadly, he didn't feature in that race. And no Liam Collins, no Tommy Knight either, who was out from qualifying after he had problems. So out from practice with that after his engine blew up.
Breathe, Scott.
And that's it.
Breathe. That's it.
The entire season complete.
The work is done for you in 2025 for the Racing Hondas Championship. What a job you have done. But for one final time, if you wouldn't mind taking us through the classified results as soon as they appear on our screen for round 16 of the Racing Hondas Championship.
See if I remember how to do this, shall I? Right, so for the final time in 2025, here is the final result of the season in Racing Hondas. Round 16, and it's Phil Wright, the local driver, who takes the victory only by 3/4 of a second from Kevin Talbot in second place after starting on pole. What a result, though. Dave Buckley, his first podium in Class A in the EK Civic. He is going to be delighted. It's a shame we can't talk to him on the podium, because effectively we'll see him on the podium, but we can't talk to him on the stream unless we can break some rules here. But Dave Buckley, third for him.
Break the rules.
We'll wait and see. Josh Harvey gets fourth place for him on his first weekend of a championship, to add to his podium earlier on. Will Self, though, with 5th place and 4th in point scorers, is enough to give him runner-up in the overall standings to go with his Class A title from qualifying earlier on this morning. Fraser McNeil tried to brave the weather conditions and got himself 6th and 5th of the point scorers in class. And then Spencer Fortag, more celebrations for Class B, a new winner this season, the third different winner, but it took until the final race to do it. Fortag wins. He does it by 0.8 per second from a best result for Sammy Milam for Kinetic Motorsport. More reason for Dave Buckley to be happy. And then Dan Thackeray, the new Class B and overall champion, finishes in 9th. Sam Linster rounds out the top 10 from Ryan Cunningham, who is the outgoing champion in Carnival 1. That was his final race with number 1 on the window. Then Luke Crassus-Menu and Harry Greenhill, and James Orford way back in 14th in his EK Civic. From 15th backwards is then Lewis Barker, who started on pole in the class but had to sit all the way back. I think he's been third in class, actually. Then Jordan Morgans completes his first weekend from Callum Houchin, Matt Rowling, and also Dan Weston, who retired. And we also lost Bob Barron as well. And before we hand down to the final podium, that's all she wrote. That's the championship complete. That is a third season of Racing Hondas wrapped up. And I might do a tiny bit of a monologue here, if I may do so for a second, because this has been a championship which I joined back in May. I didn't really know what to expect, but I said yes to it because it was going to be a worthwhile thing to do. And in the end, it turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made, because this championship has been a real insight for me as to how club racing at this part of the world works, and it's been an incredible journey through the first 8 rounds to go from Cadwell Park all the way through the season, from May all the way through to October. And even though we started in bright sunshine at Cadwell and ended in the rain here at Snetterton, I don't think I'd be anywhere else. So I think I have to say a massive thank you to everyone at Time Attack, to everyone who's involved in Racing Hondas, to Carl and to Fran, to all the teams and drivers are putting on an amazing show throughout the season. 16 incredible races all the way across the length and breadth of the country, from Knockhill all the way through to Brands Hatch and Snetterton and everywhere else in between, to the Alpha Live guys on top, to all the mix as well. And of course, I can't forget, of course, my incredible partner in crime, Charlie, because this has been our first season presenting, and to only do basically 5 months worth, 8 race meetings worth, and see the progress from where she started to where she is. Genuinely, it's been absolutely superb. So genuinely incredible stuff from her and everyone else. So a massive thank you to everyone involved in the championship for making me feel so welcome, and to making it just an enjoyable season. And all being well, I cannot wait to do it again in 2026, because I have to say, what a final race, what a weekend, what a championship.
Lovely words indeed, Scott Woodward. Congratulations on a brilliant season indeed. So yes, the Racing Hondas Championship comes to a close in 2025. That was round 16 done and dusted. They will go off for the winter's break. We're just waiting to get word, and we'll hear from some of the drivers very shortly indeed. More action coming up very soon. Don't forget, right on track is Time Attack Super Attack very shortly. There's still a little bit of drifting going on the Snetterton 100 circuit. I believe the Car Obsession show is still there as well.
So, excellent job, of course, from Ian as well. Again, I'm not sure if I've been commentating with him before, so to do it for the first time this weekend has been quite a pleasure as well. So, good job on that one. If you're interested about the championship, do go to the website, racinghondas.uk. If you've got a racing Honda, whether it's a Civic of any generation, whether it's a an Integra, whether it's an Accord, whether it's a Honda Jazz. Heck, I want to see a Honda Beat compete in this championship. That'd be fantastic. And of course, if you've got a Generation 1, there is the new S2000 Cup coming in for the season as well. So just waiting for the signal to throw across. We should get in a couple of moments' time. And if you want to find out more, be sure to do so, because if you thought Season 3 was big, Season 4 is going to be even bigger and better once again. So I cannot wait for that. It's going to be quite a season to work it all out.
We are running quite a bit ahead of schedule as well, actually. If you are watching on the live stream thinking this race should have only started 5 minutes or so ago, we've managed to claw a little bit of time back, certainly through the lunch break as well. So next will be Time Attack, Super Attack. But there is just a little bit of clear up going on the circuit at the minute, so you're not missing any track action at the minute. A big thank you to all of you for tuning in as well. Can we show a bit of love for Scott on that live chat as well? That was his final race of 2025 with the Racing Hondas Championship, and what a wonderful job he has done.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. And again, just waiting to get things started. I think we've got all our drivers down there, just waiting for the signal in my ears. Once we get that, and we can finally throw down. I'm being told to keep Phil for a second, so...
Okay, Scott, I've got a question for you, because I've asked Alexi here. We've got Susie up here. I'm going to ask her in a minute.
Okay.
What was your first ever car?
Renault Twingo.
Renault Twingo. Wow. Mine was a Rover 214, so mine's better than yours.
Not the original one, but the one that came out in about sort of 2006 or so.
I'm going to ask Susie in a minute what her first ever car... I've got a feeling it's going to be something good, actually. It's going to be something
Shake
good.
of the head.
Yeah. It'll be something really good. Yeah, BMW 5 Series or something. Right, so do keep your comments coming in on the live chat if you're watching on the live stream. Thank you so much. Let us know whereabouts in the world you are. If you're in the UK, whereabouts in the UK. If you're overseas, tell us. We want to hear from you, and let us know also what your first car was. We can give you a shout out. So it looks like we're almost ready down there with some of the drivers.
Yeah, so we'll be hearing from our 3 class winners very shortly for the final time. And of course then the Racing Hondas will hibernate off for the winter, and they'll be back out once again, I'm certain, in around about a few months' time, once they've had a chance to go and fettle their cars, get them ready, get them sorted. I wonder what delights and what machines will turn up in classes, in the classes, including, of course, the new S2000 Cup, which is coming for next year. I want to find out more info about that. Go to the website, racinghondas.uk. We're looking forward to seeing some rear-wheel drive Hondas on the grid amongst all of our front-wheel drive goodness on top of that as well. I think we should maybe wait for one driver possibly, because I think I can see the Chinese then they're waiting with Phil Wright to have a chat to him. We might think also have another of our Class D. I think we're just waiting for 60 Spencer Fortag. Maybe we're waiting for our Class C winner Callum Houchin if he's down there.
I think they might be waiting for a brolly as well.
Waiting for a brolly.
It was like when Spencer Fortag came over the line, he had his fist pumping out of the window of the car. He was absolutely delighted, wasn't he?
He did, and rightfully so, because he's been pushing hard for that and had quite a bit of bad luck, but he's been rewarded in these damp conditions with a victory, and so it's going to be great to see his reaction when he talks to Charlie in a few moments' time. So we are then, for the final time, we can hand down to our roving reporter, the one and only Charlie Harmon, to have a final chat to our top 3, to our 3 class winners for the final round of Racing Hondas 2025. On you go, Charlie.
Right, we are down here after what is our last race of this season. However, I am with our Class A winner, Phil Wright. How was that for you?
Yeah, it was great to have the rain that we've been praying for all day and get back on pace with the others. It's been brilliant, and to do it in front of our family, friends and sponsors at a home track, it just makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to say, home track win, it just hits different, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%, especially when we've got everybody here.
Yeah.
It's just...
I can see a lot of smiley faces behind the camera here in support.
It's just a little bit of payback for what they do for me, so it makes it worthwhile.
Absolutely, definitely. How have you found the season?
Yeah, it's been great. We've struggled with a lot of cars, but we've had tracks where have been all right for us, and we've had wet weather, which has helped us massively. We've finished second, can't fault that really. Wills drove brilliant all year. We managed to bring the fight to the end last race. That's all I could hope for.
No, absolutely, definitely. We're going to see you next year?
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Perfect stuff. That's what we like to see. Well, congratulations again. Thank you so much. Cheers. Brilliant stuff. Right, we're going to grab Spencer over now. So Spencer was our Class B winner. Spencer, how are you? How was that?
Yeah, amazing. I feel somewhat vindicated. Here I am. I'm 52, probably one of the older drivers, I'd imagine. Although I know I don't look it. And we run the car on a shoestring budget, so to win by that margin in the wet, I'm absolutely delighted. Amazing. I'm completely chuffed.
Oh, good stuff. Because the season's not been, smooth sailing for you, to say the least. So it's good to see you come back for this and really sort of show, come through.
Yeah, it's nice to show that I am capable of being a race winner. I've got 3 podiums this year already. Sadly, we had 5 DNFs and DNSs. and that obviously put a kibosh to the championship contention, behind Ryan, I think, naturally. But yeah, no, just a brilliant race, and like I say, to win by that margin, I don't normally blow my own trumpet, but I'm really happy with myself.
You're well deserved.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Amazing stuff. Well, congratulations again. What a way to end the season. Yeah. Thank you so much. Right, we're going to bring Callum over now. So Callum is our Class C winner. Callum, what a way to end the season. I know the voice is not with us, but we've got a lot of smiling faces behind the camera in support here today. Congratulations. Thank you. Oh, brilliant. Callum, thank you. Brilliant. Right, well, that is us. That's everything for Racing Hondas for 2025. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in, and of course, Lucas Oil for sponsoring us. We hope to see you again next year.
Good stuff indeed. Big thank you to Scott Woodwis. And now we move into Time Attack. Super Attack. Look, you get in contact with us on that live chat. Bike Life Logan wants a shout out. Well, there you go. It's right there. Sid is at the event right now as well. And Trainsboy was also at the event. Thank you, all of you, for getting in contact with us on YouTube. Right, just before I bring in Alexi and Susie here, we caught up a little bit earlier with Josh Barrett. So let's hear from him now.
So I'm here with Josh Barrett from Pro Class. So good morning, how are you doing?
Good morning, yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, it's dry today in Snetterton, which is, I don't think it's ever happened for the sort of 3 or 4 years I've been doing it on the last round. So
it has a bit of notoriety for not being particularly dry. This is weird.
For being Wetterton, yeah,
Yes,
exactly, yeah. And for that being the last one, we've done really well actually this year with dry sessions, so we've not had any. Other than the last round, literally the last session of Knock Hill, it's been dry all year, so that's good.
So now, how was that in the caterum?
The caterum doesn't like the wet. I mean, it's not got a roof, so that doesn't help in terms of me being able to see. So you go around the corners and you can't really see, and then you get on the straights and all the wet sort of disappears, and you can see again. You've got a guess on the corner. It's got no traction control, no ABS, and quite a bit of power on the rear wheels, and they're only small 13-inch, so it's quite lively. Yeah, not a lot of weight, so it's like ice skating. Yeah.
So you're hoping it stays dry today then?
I'm hoping it dry. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'd be no good in the wet compared to the sort of four-wheel drive cars. Yeah.
But the championship's going well for you.
Championship's gone good. Yeah, we've got third place secured, which is great. It's our first year in Pro Class. I don't think when we came into it we necessarily thought we'd get third, so we're pretty happy with that. We could not finish today and drop the round and still come in third, I think. So, yeah, very happy with that.
And that's a great achievement because, yeah, you moved up to Pro Class this year and you're up against Suzuki, the NSX, and Brad John in the Evo, so big horsepower cars. And it's quite a different setup, and it's quite. It's always very interesting how the different cars compete over the different tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are. Our enemy is top speed. We've power to weight is not too bad. We're running about 350 brake, and we weigh about 600 kilos. So accelerating is pretty good, but our average speed's like 100 mile an hour. And at 100 mile an hour, we carry so much drag with the caterham. So we've been looking at how to make it more slippery. So at 100 mile an hour, the acceleration isn't there, and we're sort of topping out at about 130 on most tracks, just because that's not our top speed, but the car just doesn't accelerate too much past that.
So you're making some changes to gear ratios?
Yeah, we changed the final drive ratio to hope that would give us a bit more, be in the torque a bit, in the sixth gear, but it hasn't quite panned out like that. So I don't know why. So here we thought we would be carrying a quicker top speed, but we're actually about a mile an hour down. I think sixth gear for us is kind of like an overdrive gear, and it just, when we get there, we just seem to struggle to accelerate, basically. And the final drive ratio hasn't helped, so we might have to change that back.
We've got all winter to do that, though.
Yeah, diff out, change, back in, yeah, exactly. So that's the plan. And maybe a bit more horsepower for next year.
Right, okay, so that's your plans for the winter then?
Yeah, it needs some more power. It does, yeah, to be competitive. I mean, we were probably the most competitive at Cadwell, and I've seen that we've got 2 Cadwell sessions next year, which is good. But I think the main thing we struggle with is that top speed. So more power, I think, is the only real answer.
And you're going to have all your fingers and toes crossed for it to stay like this then?
Fingers and toes crossed for dry weather all day, yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant, well, good luck out there this afternoon.
Thank you, cheers.
Cheers.
Great stuff. Josh was actually briefly the fastest person on track for a little while. Now, though, Colin Dorward and Simon Norris have displaced him from that top spot. Oh my God, this camera sounds like it's underwater.
Yeah, I mean, it really is.
It's pretty soggy out there.
It is pretty soggy out there.
Wow.
So, and I know some people have actually not gone out on full wets as well, so which is interesting. So, yeah, and Josh Barrett, as we're sitting there, definitely going to be the dampest person after he gets out of the car. So,
yeah,
there's conditions he really didn't want in that car. And yeah, it's it's a bit of a shame the weather has turned, but I think it's been kind of saying it will do it all day.
I mean, we knew it was coming, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. If anything, it's a very, very good demonstration of the aero working. We see there on Brad John's car, that massive rooster tail. What is going on there for Colin Dorward? So it looks like stopped at the entrance of the pits.
Look at all that mist coming off the back of Bradley John's car. The kind of rooster tail-ish, the arrows knocking on the door of a rooster tail. Loads of mist being flung around there by all the aero devices on these pro class machines. Of course, this is the session that's going to potentially decide it all. This is now the super attack, the last super attack of the year. This is the decider.
Yeah, and you can see Brad John there with his lights blazing. So out there on the hot lap. Sorry, just on that note, I've just seen Colin Dorward just actually leave the pits. So whatever that happened on that entrance of the pits, he seems to have resolved that now. But yeah, we can see Brad John out there. And what's he going to turn on this lap? So yeah, improves on his time with a 1:21.8. And currently the fastest car out on track. He was saying actually for, I believe he kind of broken the lap records in Attack 2, but then sadly one of his laps was disallowed. So yeah, it's absolutely flying today. And then we've seen Simon Norris go across with a 1:21.3, and so the fastest car out on track at the moment from that crazy short wheelbase Evo of Simon Norris.
Now, those of you watching the Lucas Oil live stream will see in the bottom right corner of your screen a QR code that you can scan to vote for your Lucas Oil top driver. If you've enjoyed the stream, and lots of people here getting stuck into the comments, thank you very much for that. Susie and I had a bit of an issue earlier on where we couldn't seem to get onto the stream to read the comments, but we're back in now. So do definitely leave a comment, share your thoughts. Thank you for the feedback as well. But if you've enjoyed the stream, scan that QR code on the bottom right corner of your screen and go vote for your driver of the day, the Lucas Oil top driver. Make your feelings known. Vote for whoever you think was, I was going to say, best driven. Maybe you just liked their car the most. Who knows? The criteria are very loose. Go and vote for whoever your favorite driver was today in the Racing Hondas and Time Attack Championships. Now, quite a lot going on there in the background. Look at that Bradley John now diving up the inside, it looked like, of Colin Dorward. Just coming into those final sequence of corners, braking from Coram into Murray's.
Yeah, and as I was saying, the really visible result of all of that aero on Simon Norris's car as he's coming down the straight, and you can really see that rooster tail just kicking up there of the rain. Yeah, if you ever wanted a good visual demonstration of how the aero works or what it kind of looks like, there's you can see that there.
Let's take a look there. It's Martin Henry's car there. Nice bang of flames out of the side of that car. And again, you can see that heat haze radiating from that car, from that exhaust. But I'm curious, you mentioned the rooster tail off the back of Simon Norris's car. I was actually looking elsewhere at the comments and other screens and stuff as that shot happened that you were referring to. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that. Very interesting stuff indeed.
Well, as he was saying earlier, now he's moved to full rear-wheel drive, which, you know, again, on a dry track, it's no problem at all, but it's going to definitely make it a lot more of a handful coming round here now. He's got the extra downforce, but again, can you go fast enough to be using all of that downforce around the corners here? We saw him coming through Coram, actually the car really kind of like squirming about there. So, and because he is the fastest car out on track, but not by a huge margin from Brad John.
Way smaller margin than usual, isn't it? Yeah, half a second.
And again, I think that's probably a result from the amount of grip you've got out there, and then rear-wheel drive versus obviously Brad John and all of the other Evos, you know, running the classic permanent four-wheel drive system that they do.
Very misty there indeed, as Martin Henry just threads his Astra VXR through Wilson and onto the Bentley straight. Another nice lick of flame out of the side of that car, and again, great stuff.
Right on cue that was.
And again, I mean, I hope it's meant to do that. But it certainly looks the part. Martin Henry, a Time Attack household name. He's been doing this for absolutely years. Although I suspect perhaps his car not quite behaving how he wants it to across a big chunk of this year. But nonetheless, he took a quite long sabbatical of a few years. I think he left pretty much when I did, so, you know, 5 years ago or so. So it's great to see him back for this year in the same chassis. I don't think there's many people who've used the same chassis for, let's say, 10 years or so. Johnny Fletcher, of course, and the other Astra, the Mark IV GSI, and this being a Mark V VXR.
The Astra OGs, then.
They are, well, I mean, perhaps there were people before them, but as far as I'm concerned, and you know, your time in the sport as well, these are the Astra OGs. Simon Norris, oh, you can see the vortices or something around the end plates of his rear wing as well. That was really interesting there. The turbulence, or... And
just look at the height that's kicking up. And, you know, Darren Spearner here, we're seeing the air that's coming off the car, the
mist. Mist.
Yeah, so it's he's got a reasonable amount of kind of like downforce on this car, and again, compared to most cars, this is a lot of downforce, a lot of aero. But yeah, compared to kind of again Simon Norris's car, where we're talking, what were we saying before? I think like 1,500 kilos at 140 miles an hour downforce. So yeah, really, really pushing that car into ground and then sending all of that mist heading skywards.
Incredible. His car, 1,040 kilograms now. So 50%, he's making 150% of his weight in downforce.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, so it's like having another one of these cars sat on top of his roof.
Whoa, it's like having 1.5 of those on his roof.
Yeah, yeah.
Incredible stuff. Ilya Krylov here in the 400 horsepower K-swapped Clio makes his way down the Bentley straight and into Brundle. Ilya Krylov's current best, a 1:30.9, and of course we've seen these lap times increase quite considerably as the weather's taken a turn for the worse. Of course, it's a turn for the better, I think, for those of us watching from the somewhere shaded from the rain, but for our drivers and for our brave trackside spectators, not all of them are probably going to be happy about this weather, but it certainly makes for interesting watching, especially for those following on the Lucas Oil live stream.
I mean, talking about interesting watching, so Brad John has gone through and set the fastest time out on track at the moment with a 1:20.2. So that is over a second faster than Simon Norris. Oh, and then we're seeing also Martin Henry taking, I'm pretty sure that's not going to be a shortcut, but yeah, over the grass there. So something obviously didn't go quite right at one of those corners. Is that coming on to the Bentley straight at the back? So that must have been something going not quite right around Wilson. But yeah, so again, this, as I was saying, Brad John taking that time from Simon Norris, and I wonder if this is the difference between, again, the extra traction that the four-wheel drive has got in these damp, slippery conditions.
Yeah, look at that. Incredible, isn't it? Usually Simon Norris is like head and shoulders above anything that isn't Pro Extreme. You know, he's very much in a league of his own. But yeah, since going to rear-wheel drive only, that seems to be paying dividends in the dry. But of course, yeah, in the wet, and of course, he's only really interested in outright lap records and really maximum performance. So I guess he's not as worried about performance in the wet. But he does open himself up to other machinery that is running four-wheel drive when the weather becomes like this. Josh Barrett, probably pretty miserable. You saw in that interview with Susie just now, he was really hoping for no rain, and the rain is usually considered an equalizer, and we discussed this hypothesis at the beginning of the day. Is the rain really going to be much of an equalizer here? Because whether the Bentley Straight is wet or dry, you need lots of power to muscle down it. And indeed, Josh Barrett remains about where he was anyway, despite the weather, because I think ultimately, so the straights are wet now. He's still got less power than anyone else.
Well, he's just been pipped a different class, but by Mike Osborne, who is seeing there on your screen. So in the Club Pro class, who's just pipped him overall for fastest time. So for 1:27.1, just moving him just ahead of Josh Barrett, actually pulling into the pits there. So, and that time is fast enough. That is the fastest time in Club Pro. And you actually just saw him pull off into the pits there as well. So I wonder if that gives him a pretty sizable gap to Ilya. So too much maths in my head, but 3.5 seconds. So he's got that pretty safe. So I wonder if he's just going to, call it a day. Obviously, highly strung Evos, highly strung any cars that are in Pro. You want to be able to, if you get out there and get your lap and it's good enough, then maybe you kind of call it a day. And I can see him coming down the pit here, and I think, yes, so he is now pulling that car off, as has Brad John as well. So they're saying, we've done enough. This is enough for the day. And it's enough both for Brad John in Pro to have the fastest time in his class, and also Mike Osborne in Club Pro.
Incredible, Josh Barrett, how much seat time he's been getting this season. You're saying highly strung this, highly strung that. He's just been doing every single session, the full. I don't think I've seen it any year, or even last year, him spending a session sitting around because of various reasons that we've just listed. He's just out there every session. Simon Norris there going pretty slow. I wonder whether he's just slowing down well offline to allow the others through. Oh no, look, no. He's really pulling off there.
Oh, so that does not look good, and especially with 2 minutes left on the clock. That's going to be pretty terminal for him for this round.
Little bit of movement there from Josh Barrett. But you know what? I didn't realize, so he was saying no traction control and no ABS. I mean, this is a pretty modern car, so I guess maybe he's taken the ABS out. I thought
it's a Caterham though. They do not really have a huge amount of drive rates, especially I think with the 620R, where it's so kind of track focused. But yeah, whether he's kind of taking it out afterwards. But
ABS isn't up to choice. I think every car that you go and buy has to have ABS. I think. Unless, because they're super low volume, they get a bit of leeway or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe he built it himself and he just didn't put ABS in.
And it's also not a standard 620R, is it?
No, so maybe he's pulled it out.
Maybe.
But considering how look how tiny his tires are compared to a lot of other stuff that's on track. No driver aids, rear-wheel drive, superlight, all this stuff. He's not been moving around anywhere near as much as some of the other cars we've seen. So if he's driving so cleanly, unaided in the wet, I think that deserves a lot of credit.
It does indeed, especially with the light car and rear-wheel drive. The conditions looking very slippery. That was almost, I think, seeing reflections that a little bit of standing water out there. It's going to be very treacherous indeed.
Yep, this is Z20 sounds. Z20 noises intensify there from Martin Henry as he makes his way through Wilson and onto the Bentley straight. I mean, most cars are probably, especially in the pro class, sorry, specifically in the pro classes, will be running the, many of them run the Bosch Motorsport ABS, and probably some kind of, they're running aftermarket standalone ECUs, many of which have their own traction control and stability control, all of this stuff. So yes, their driving should be pretty tidy. But Josh Barrett is driving that Caterham entirely unaided in this weather. For me, that's news. I kind of assumed there was something there. But if that's entirely unaided, that's really, really impressive. Great driving there from Josh Barrett.
I mean, it's less to go wrong, isn't it? So we're talking about reliability.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that too, yeah. I mean, he didn't put a foot wrong all day. Despite the weather, he's been so consistent, and he's just been on it, absolutely on it all day. Incredible stuff. I'm really impressed by that.
And we have to get the hairdryer out now, though.
Yeah. We need to do our. Would he be on the podium? He is third in the pro class, so he would be on the podium. We do expect our drivers to wear their race suits on the podium, and well, perhaps Josh has brought a spare one. But if
a dry one.
A spare dry one that maybe he's been in the car, he's kept in the car with the heater on or something. Because if he's got to stay in that soggy suit for another hour, that's not a very nice prospect. Let's run through the provisional results as before the timing screens are cleared. So Bradley John there ends the session at the top of the leaderboard, leading in pro class ahead of Colin Dorward, Josh Barrett, and Martin Henry. In Pro Extreme, it's Simon Norris with a 121.3. And in Club Pro, it's Michael Osborne with a 127.1, ahead of Ilya Krylov with a 130.8, and Darren Spooner with 131.1. All the results are available on the TSL timing website. I'm aware that we've kind of been whipping through these all day. If you want to look at the sector times, speed traps, all of the full stuff, if you go into the TSL timing website, that stands for Timing Solutions Limited. Well, firstly, you can use that same timing screen that we're using. Well, it's a bit late in the day for that. But all the results are on there as well. Nice PDFs of every session, who did what. So if you want to look at the data, then that is the place to go.
And of course, championship-wise, so for these classes, I think no championships have been decided today. So for Pro Extreme, that's Simon Norris. For Club Pro, I believe that's Mike Osborne. I believe he was the winner coming into this. And then for also pro class, it's Luke Sejkowski and Tegawa NSX, which we're not seeing here today because, again, he knows that the championship is kind of like wrapped up for him. So no big changes to the championship. We'll see some winners declared. But heading into these other classes, it's all to play for. So they're going to be interesting in the next session.
Yep. We're going to probably need to take a little bit of time to recover Simon Norris's machine. And so this might take a few minutes to do. So we're going to leave you with a couple of messages from our sponsors. And then shortly after that, hopefully, all being well, we'll be able to jump straight into the Club 2-wheel drive and Club 4-wheel drive Super Attack very shortly.
Motegi Racing was conceived with one mission in mind: performance. Each wheel is over-engineered to ensure industry-leading strength, lightweight design, and seamless connection to your unique style. From our storied past in motorsports to our stylistic contributions to the aftermarket culture, one thing remains: Motegi Racing is built for enthusiasts.
So it looks like, there you go, you can see Simon Norris's machine being towed into the pits. You can just see it in the back left corner of your screens. Luckily, it didn't need to get loaded up onto the trailer or anything like that. It could just get tugged along. So what that means is we should be able to get our Club 2-wheel drive and Club 4-wheel drive super attack underway shortly. Now again, as a driver, I'm a big fan of drop scores. As a driver living in the real world with real world problems, not a professional racing driver, I like drop scores. But what that does mean is, you know, Susie even earlier was going around the paddock like, we had a briefing during lunchtime and someone was like, can we borrow a laptop with Excel to try to like work this out? Because it does make trying to work out the final standings a bit tricky. Before time. I mean, how we've done it in the past, it's pretty simple actually. In other series that I've been more involved with the running of is once all the results are on the screen, we just count all of them and discount the 2 worst. Like, it's actually not that complicated. But trying to do it on the fly before the season end, it's difficult to know how the cards are going to fall before they have fallen. Yeah. So those of you who are thinking, what are the standings? How's it all going to work? All of this stuff, we don't know. Until it's all done and the last checkered flag has flagged, we're not going to know.
I think we've got a little bit more of an idea for Club, because of course we've got Club 2-wheel drive. So David Dyson was leading the championship. And again, there are drop points in there, but Johnny Fletcher was second. And I think in that last round, I believe it was David Dyson who took the win. So, or that last session, I should say. Mm-hmm. And Johnny Fletcher, I think it was 4th. So I think that's, you know, that's probably going to be a big issue for Johnny unless something crazy happens in this last round. And then again, Club 4-wheel drive, I think Alexander Volkov has got that pretty wrapped up. I don't think anybody can touch that.
Right, but that's just the top spot, right?
Yeah, that's
so
just
what
the top spot.
But then, all the rest of it,
and
though?
next is, so Dean Taylor was in second, I believe, with 127 points before today. Andy Grady with 119. But again, and so Dean is having gear selector issues, which is the issue he's had kind of like on and off all season. So he's having that again. And I talked to him, and so he's not going to be able to set a fast lap, but he is just saying, right, I'm just going to get the car out there, get the points. Because again, there's not that many people out in Club 4-wheel drive, so a lap is good enough to get you into the point scoring. So yeah, I mean, it just really is, it's a hell of a lot of maths to figure it out. But yeah, so second and third, I think, for Club 4-wheel drive is going to be, could be quite close.
I mean, it all looked pretty busy there on the Bentley Straight. Lots of cars. You know, this is quite a long track, and this isn't a terribly busy session in terms of the numbers of cars. But they were all bunched up together, and here you can see Luke Capehorn making his way around, Jeff Kershaw, and perhaps that GTR as well of Stuart Andrew. Because you don't, at this point in time, you don't know how the weather is going to go. So you don't really want to sit and wait for better conditions to get. We might have worse conditions. And this is the session that awards the biggest points of the whole day to these drivers. So unfortunately, as bad as the conditions are, they need to all go out now because the conditions might get even worse. So this is definitely going to be very interesting. The GTR there of Alexander Volkov looking very intimidating indeed as it makes its way into the Bentley Straight, thundering past.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard to argue with the sheer power that Alexander Volkov is bringing to these big 2 straights. But I mean, I wouldn't want to be behind the wheel when he tries to stop for turn 1 in these conditions.
Yep. Big power, 1,100 wheel horsepower. Yep, interesting stuff indeed. Nobody yet having set a flying lap. Pretty early days in this session from what it seems. Yep, out laps there for everyone. This will be the first flying lap that we see as Alexander Volkov gets on the power, flies across the line. 128.8, the current time to beat. pretty fast already, and we've seen how much the lap times have worsened across the board as a result of this weather. And these laps are there or thereabouts what we're going to see. There might be perhaps a second or two to gain, but we're quite a chunk off the times that we saw earlier on in the day, and that's going to remain the case. So whatever lap records were set earlier in the day, if any, they're probably going to remain because the conditions here are pretty greasy indeed. Alexander Volkov now coming through Brundle and into Nelson.
Yeah, so Alex Volkov set a 1:13.78 in attack 2. So yeah, it just goes to show the difference out there on the track.
And you might find a little bit more time, but you know it's going to be a big gap.
But I'm just looking back through. I've got the lap records here as well, and so that would have been in attack 2. I believe that would have been a lap record for Alexander Volkov. So again, that's going to pick him up extra points, which he doesn't need. He's got the championship sewn up, but I'm not surprised at all that yeah, his car is very well suited to this track.
There you go, 1:26 there from Alexander Volkov, so he finds about 2 seconds on his previous personal best in this session.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Andy Grady can do, because actually Andy's very happy in the way. He said he's pretty ecstatic that it's kind of like rained out there. Because it is.
There we go.
Yeah,
Alexander Volkov's just fallen off.
Trying to stop that big, heavy car, and was that at the end of
Riches, I think.
So Riches, so turn 1.
Yep.
Really tricky corner, because it's a long corner, so it's quite open. But yeah, it's like how much speed can you carry into that in these conditions? As we saw there, I think Alexander Volkov finding that you've definitely gone past that limit.
Interesting. So perhaps, though, it looked to me perhaps that Neil Robson braked a little bit earlier there than usual, even for this weather. I think perhaps he saw the tail end of what had happened there and thought, let's be a bit more cautious through these next few corners. It's definitely looking pretty treacherous out there. David Dyson in the Cayman GT4. You could see how the past few times we've seen this shot, drivers keeping it well off the curbs. Even there, I mean, even putting it on the white line is a bit risky in this weather, but definitely not touching any curbs and taking a pretty conservative line through here as well. Much slower than what we're used to seeing all day.
Yeah, meanwhile,
oh, there you go. You could just see David Dyson dipping his rear wheel on a curb and instantly fishtailing out of Murray's.
I wonder how many of because obviously in more modern cars, you've got a lot of these driver aids if you want them. And as we know, David Dyson's car is still relatively stock, so I do wonder if he's got any of those going at the moment.
Yeah. Interesting comment here. Soylent Green New Deal time. A YouTube user who's thankfully, thank you for joining the stream. With quite a soft bum, the GTR tries to wheelie with all that grunt. Perhaps. I don't actually know much about the suspension on those, but I can imagine it. All that momentum, throwing it backwards. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Big heavy car as well.
Big heavy car as well. All that weight getting thrown backwards. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Neil Robson then. So perhaps after his performance at Knock Hill, this is where he might come alive then. Oh, there you go. Little
it's like he heard us.
A little bit of a tweak there.
Absolutely on cue. I think he's just having an absolute blast out there. It might. I mean, I'd say it's not the fastest times out on track, but he's actually running second in class in Club 2-wheel drive. So I think we're seeing everybody kind of like struggling with these conditions. But Neil Robson is good enough for the good time, and also just having an absolute blast getting that. That 135 pretty sideways on the corner exit there.
I suspect we might see a repeat of Knock Hill. I don't know. I'm watching Neil with great interest here. I think this is going to be one to watch. David Dyson, you can just see there lurking in the background like a shark that sniffed blood.
Look
at that. Great driving there from Neil Robson.
I mean, he did well to keep it on the black stuff then, but just
He knows what he's doing.
In the background, what I see is Luke Capehorn's just come through and pipped Neil Robson's time. So coming in, nipping on David Dyson's heels there with a 1:31.5.
And you can see, I think, Neil Robson perhaps a little lift there as David Dyson flies past. 500-ish horsepower in that Cayman GT4. But of course, super optimized for track work in whatever the weather. And so, yep, machines past, motors past Neil Robson's BIB Performance BMW 135i. Let's just take a look at David Dyson as he makes his way round corners. You can see it moving around quite a lot.
We'll see if Neil goes through following him as well. I'm just interested to watch the difference in composure of these cars coming out of corner exit. Oh, yep, yeah. You
so,
see.
yeah, David Dyson a little bit more planted there, and Neil Robson a little bit of movement as he got on the power coming out of Murray's. Of course, for this weather, the Cayman's got the engine in the right place between the axles and slightly rear biased until you lose traction, and then suddenly it does a 360. But assuming you're tidy, you want the engine right there for when you're in the traction phase coming out of a corner. So, you know, Porsche know what they're doing when they're building a track car. And it's, in the case of Neil Robson, it's a road car that is quite full of compromises. So
it's interesting to watch that Neil's tagged on to the back of David Dyson there, and he's just kind of like following him around.
Yeah. I find it easier to follow than to be followed.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit unsettling when you've got something hovering about in your mirrors, and then you can let them past and lock on.
Yeah.
What's the term now? Lock in when you're following them.
Yeah, and I'm just looking down the times. So we're seeing David Dyson from Luke Capehorn, from Neil Robson, from Johnny Fletcher, from Mike Butler. And Mike Butler earlier set that lap record, and again in the drier conditions, so we're not going to see that beaten today. So that means the points for lap record are going to go to Mike Butler. And again, I mean, David Dyson is leading the championship at the moment, so I would suggest from where he is at the moment, he's got that pretty sewn up. But then, yeah, I need to look at my championship points to figure out who is.
I mean,
I think there's a little bit of a gap back to third position again. So I was just wondering what that means for Johnny Fletcher.
I'll be very impressed if you can work it out. Stuart Andrews, Volkov Motors Limited, Nissan R35 GTR that we saw on track there. Take a look at it next time when it goes around. You can see it's got daytime running lights on the mirrors, which I don't know how legal that is, but it looks pretty cool. And I spotted that earlier. Alex was showing me around that car. Alex Volkov, you know, it's one of his customers' cars. He was showing me around it. Apparently, it's one of two in the country with that combination, or like with those mirrors, and also that rear wing. It's like really rare GTR parts if you're into the GTR lore. But it looks very cool.
Oh, so I was just talking about Johnny Fletcher and saying I don't know what that does for points, and I just saw him move up the time. So he's now pipped Neil Robson, so up into third. What sort of time do we have? So we have, yeah, again, point. Oh, we have like 1 second separating David Dyson from Luke Capehorn from Johnny Fletcher. So again, three very different cars running very similar times over a very tricky track conditions as well today.
Yeah, wow. Yep, really, really close. And yeah, that's the great thing about this kind of weather, isn't it? Is it does. Oh, Alexander Volkov stopped out on track. The number 186 Volkov Motors GTR. Can't quite work out where that is just yet, but and he's got it going again. There's a few times this year that it's done that. There we go, just coming on to Bentley Straight. It's done that a few times this year, and it seems to be something quite frivolous in the past. It was some kind of like, I think it was a seat belt. I think the seat belt thought it was unplugged or something, and he had to like switch it off and on a few times, and then it got rolling again. But it's a few times that it's done odd little, what's the term, gremlins like that. Yeah, let's see how that one pans out. Andy Grady, though, really closing the gap to Alexander Volkov. So Alexander Volkov, 126.1. Andy Grady, meanwhile, 126.3. I suspect this might be the closest they've been all season.
Yeah, so he's come into the pits while we've been kind of like talking, and then he's just been out on an out lap. So you see now he has got his lights blazing. He is out on a hot lap. So we're going to keep an eye on what he can actually do on this lap.
Yep, he'll be posting a first sector time any second now. Timing screen takes a few moments to refresh, so a slower sector 1, but a faster speed trap 1 than anybody, including Alexander Volkov and Stuart Andrew, the GTRs. 140.6 miles per hour. I think that was down the Bentley straight, down the very soggy Bentley straight, but Andy Grady with 800 horsepower compared to Alexander Volkov's 1100 at the wheels, and yet faster through speed trap 1 than anyone else is Andy Grady. So he's definitely looking very punchy indeed.
Let's see if as he comes back onto the centre straight here, as he goes across the line. Oh, and he has. Yes, he's beaten Alexander Volkov. So he's now, he's just posted a 1:24.798. So
wow,
making him fastest car out on track.
By 1.5 seconds or thereabouts.
Yeah, so that is, that is a good gap from Alexander Volkov there. So Andy Grady, as I said earlier,
you said,
really
you
happy.
said this.
He
you
said
said
he was really happy. He really enjoys driving in the rain. It is a bit of an equaliser between the big kind of like horsepower. Again, I'm surprised. You know, again, it makes a huge amount of difference. So yeah, he's had an absolutely perfect lap there, and it's enough to be fastest car out on track at the moment. I wonder if Alexander Volkov has got anything to kind of like answer with.
Well, he's got map 3, hasn't he? That's what he's got.
He has more power, which seems almost unbelievable when you're talking about 1100 horsepower car. He has more power.
He's got map 3,
but it's just going to give you problems at the end. So it's like, do you deploy that? Has he deployed that already?
Well, we saw him outbrake himself already once, right, with the power that he's got.
Yeah.
So you know, do you turn it up, or do you try to maybe dial your braking zones in or something?
We just saw actually that he set. So yeah, so the fastest speed for that second sector.
Yep.
With a 144 miles an hour. So yeah, we're going to keep an eye out on him, as we saw Andy Gray just squirming away under kind of like braking. So again, he must be still pushing on. So keep an eye out for them too.
I mean, I'm assuming that David Dyson's Cayman GT4 RS has all of the Porsche PSM stability, racy software and stuff,
sorry,
right?
I'm just looking at the times while we've been talking as well. So David Dyson, so Neil Robson pipped David Dyson, and then Johnny Fletcher's just gone in and pipped Neil Robson. So again, I don't know what this means for the championship. Because I'm pretty sure David Dyson had it, but it was only via 1 point. But again, not quite sure with that dropped round. So yeah, Johnny Fletcher pulling that out with a 129.7 as the fastest Club 2-wheel drive out there.
Is the track getting faster, or is that skill and being able to pull a lap together?
It's so hard to tell from up here,
it's
but
really
it
hard
does
to tell.
look like it is.
Andy Grady's stopped again.
Oh, and that looks like he's properly stopped. So I'm not quite sure where that is on the circuit, but that doesn't look good.
Straight as well. Oh, that's really bad.
Yes, that's about where the Marshall post is, so I think that's about halfway down, so hopefully plenty of room for everyone to still get around him. So I'm hoping we won't see any red flags because of that. We've got just over 2 minutes left in the session.
I mean, yeah, that's a tricky one. That is right on the fastest part of the circuit, isn't it? That's a really tricky one. Unfortunate there for Andy Grady. I mean, perhaps he might be able to get it going. This already happened earlier today, I think, also for him. So he might be able to get it going again. Let's try to take a look. Oh, no, that car is stopped, and he is out of the car looking at the CCTV. So that car has been, red flag. That's a really bad place to leave that.
Yes. But meanwhile, as well, we've seen Neil Robson go through and set fastest Club 2-wheel drive time, beating
Look
Johnny
at
Fletcher.
that!
So,
And we got a red flag. So
and now we have a red flag, and there was only
there's 1 minute, 1 minute
40 left. So I don't know if they're going to go back out again.
Wow! So
Because
Neil
again,
Robson,
with the times we're seeing, that's only like, I mean, maybe that's time to get onto your fastest lap. But
I mean, you could do an outlap, couldn't
but
you?
they
You could.
might. I think they might end up calling that here now. It's end of the day
Checkered
as
flag.
well. So yeah, checkered flag. They've called that session then.
Wow!
So Neil Robson just going through.
Literally a
just
repeat
pipping.
of last time.
So yeah,
That's incredible. That's incredible.
some great driving from Neil. He's been having an absolute blast. Very sideways, very entertaining to watch, and it turns out very quick as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's what it's like. It's an old school of driving, but being comfortable with slip isn't necessarily. It's just different, right?
Yeah.
The school has moved on since then. It's a very old school way of attacking a track, but sometimes that's what you've got to do. And
But
he was enjoying it, and he put these amazing laps together.
Yeah. And normally, because the wheels are spinning at that point, then that's not the fastest way around the circuit. So, but it's obviously it's worked for Neil Robson.
Yeah.
He's got the fastest time out in 2-wheel drive.
Incredible. Incredible. Wow. Let's run through our provisional results then. Of course, I'm so curious, is Neil Robson like a surprise late challenger in the champion? But like we can't work it out. I'm not even going to try, but I am very curious. So Andy Grady then ends that session at the top of the leaderboard. He leads Club 4-wheel drive and the leaderboard overall ahead of Alexander Volkov. And then Stuart Andrew and Dean Taylor in Club 4-wheel drive. And in Club 2-wheel drive, our surprise late, not a surprise, we thought this might happen after Knock Hill. Surprise late winner, provisional winner, Neil Robson, ahead of Johnny Fletcher, David Dyson, Luke Capehorn, Michael Butler, and David Frost, with Jeff Kershaw there running in Club Pro out of session as well.
And also, just to point out the time difference between David Dyson with a 1:30.220, Luke Capehorn with a 1:30.226.
6 thousandths.
6
Wow.
thousandths of a second.
Wow.
So yeah, really, really close and fantastic championship it's been to watch in Club 2-wheel drive.
It
It's
always
been-
is. Every year, somehow, the rules or whatever, it's such a great class.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what that does to the championship overall, but it's been fantastic to watch the battle between these guys really battling it out. Very, very different cars, as we're saying, but all over the course of a lap, surprisingly close together.
Wow. Wow. Just managed to refresh the comments. Robin Taylor saying, come on, Grady, take a win, boy, which he just has. Great stuff.
Yep.
Ross Hampson, Volkov still got lap record in the dry.
He did,
He
yep.
did. Well done to everyone. So we are, let's take a look. Well, looks like Andy Grady's car has moved. But yeah, let's jump to a short little break. I think just a couple of ads. Don't go anywhere, and we will see you in just a few moments for our Club and Pocket Rocket and Force and Classic Metro Super Attack in just a few moments.
Motegi Racing was conceived with one mission in mind: performance. Each wheel is over-engineered to ensure industry-leading strength, lightweight design, and seamless connection to your unique style. From our storied past in motorsports to our stylistic contributions to the aftermarket culture, one thing remains: Motegi Racing is built for enthusiasts.
So that is the final session of the day that has just got
And the
underway.
year.
And the year.
And the
Wow. It's always, this is always quite an emotional moment at the end of the season. It kind of sneaks up on you because I think you enter the day all like, all hyped up and ready for a day's work, and you don't really think about it. And then the end comes, and you think, oh, now what am I going to do for the rest of the year? Yeah, wow.
But it's going to be quite emotional for quite a lot of drivers out there, because as we were just saying during the break, we have 2 championships where I honestly couldn't tell you what's going on with them anymore now. So we came into today. And just
Annie
as we're
Thompson's
talking
off.
about that, Annie. Oh, is she? She's just letting
well, she's
somebody
back
go.
on now.
Okay.
Well,
we came into
leapt off the
today
track.
with Annie leading in Clubman and leading Dan, but only by 9 points. And then we saw Dan win in Attack 2, or take the fastest time. And then with Clive Hopwell between them as well. So again, that throws everything up in the air. I have
love it.
no idea
I love that
what's
there's
going
so
on
much
with them.
still undecided. I
Exactly.
love that.
So literally, everything counts in this last session of the day. Everyone is going to be going hell for leather, except it is very slippery out there. So we're going to be seeing exactly what happens. And then the other class that, again, has it all to play for in this is Pocket Rocket Force Induction. And I have no idea anymore who's leading that. So we came in today with Rafael Chicharis on 165 points, Stephen House on 155, and Tommy Langley on 152. But then Tommy Langley was fastest in Attack 2. So Tommy Langley, and Rafa, I think, came 3rd or 4th. So I don't know what this does to the points, but all we know is that the championships are up for grabs in Clubman and Pocket Rocket Forced Induction. It's everything to play for in those. A little bit more tied up in, I believe, Pocket Rocket NA. So we see Ryan Barker on the screen now. So he is leading that championship. I don't believe Mark Roberts can... I think it's Mark in second who can take that to him.
Well,
But yeah,
so if
I
the
don't know
program's
what
to be
happens
believed,
in
it's,
second and third. Oh, have you got...
Exactly. I think first and second are decided. So that's Ryan Barker and Mark Roberts. That's decided. The question is third place. I think we mentioned this, so Martin Roberts, Martin Batchkovich could have, but he's not here today, and Stephen Wilkinson, and then you said it's Stephen Wilkinson's last thing in that car and so on. So it looks like maybe that will go towards Wilco's way.
Yes.
But of course, those are just some of the positions, right? That's like the top. But, a driver might be battling tooth and nail for 4th. And that battle could still be wide open, and that could mean a great deal to them, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Everything's still... I mean, in terms of the Pocket Rocket Force Induction winner, based on the trend that we'd seen this year, I actually came into today assuming that Rafa had I thought he already had this in the bag. So I was quite surprised to learn that, oh no, there's this and that in the gearbox and all this stuff. And then now the day that he's had as well, wow. Yep, very interesting. So Gary Papworth then at the top of this class. Never mind. So Rafa Tataris moved up a lot. Then it's Gary Papworth, but now it's Tommy Langley who moves to the top of the Pocket Rocket Force Induction class, 135.6. Stephen House, 142.3. Just all of our drivers currently moving around as they settle into their rhythm and start putting in what they think their best pace in this weather could be.
What is interesting, though, is down the start-finish straight, there's not a huge amount of spray being kicked up. So I wonder if it's stopped raining out there, and if that's going to mean there's going to be a little bit more grip maybe for some of these drivers. So, again, that's really going to impact how this all pans out in Super Attack. So, I mean, right down to the wire, last round of the season, last session of the day is literally all to play for so many of them.
Yep. I mean... As I wrote in my little memoir on page 16 of the program, I think this has been a remarkable year.
It really has.
Even here that we've got all these battles going on in the final session of the finals round. Wow. And the rain and the change. I don't think at any point we're going to see. Well, I know for a fact we're not going to see anything near to dry pace in this session.
No.
But the track might start coming back a little bit, and we might start seeing drivers get a little bit quicker throughout the session, which means that no one can relax at any point. Because sometimes if it's raining really badly, you think, well, this is the best I can do, I'll go back and park it. But like, if the track's going to come back slowly, then that means they've got to stay out and they've got to keep trying.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing you'd want is to get to the last session of the last round and then you come in early because you decide, yep, that's enough, and somebody pips your time.
Yep. Everyone's going to stay out, right? Everyone's going to be a little bit paranoid and they're going to stay out.
Yeah.
Kestis Dobrovolskis sets a faster time than anybody else, 1:29.4, so 4 seconds clear of anyone else. Nice bit of feedback there from Ross Hampson of this parish Time Attack driver. Just wanted to say thank you to Time Attack and Lucas Oil, definitely, and Alexi and Susie for this year's live stream. Thank you very much for that feedback. That's really pleasant to hear. That's really kind of you. Thank you.
We're hoping we see him back next season as well for a few more rounds.
Yep. And I was really enjoying that battle, actually, in Classic and Retro between our single-round entries, Owen Llewellyn and Luke Taylor, in the LMS Mazda MX-5 and the Matthews Motorsport BMW E36. No mention of like engine size or anything like that, just an E36. But I quite enjoyed that battle, and I'm looking forward to that continuing in the rain as well. Dean Riley in the DRS Racing Vauxhall VX220 there, who I think looks set for second in the championship standings. I think we can say this with some degree of confidence. You can hear that supercharger whine as he heads across the start-finish line.
Yeah, and so Dean's just developed this car so much this season, as he was saying. He's come into this with very little actual racing experience, spent a lot of time on the sims, and then he's also just been really heavily developing that car over the season. We've seen quite a few changes on it. It's been kind of like focused on the aero and obviously the restrictions in his class that he can actually do to that aero, and then really kind of like tweaking the car and trying to get the most out of it. And then yeah, we'll see him back next year. We'll see. It sounds like there's potentially big plans for next year. But yeah, we'll see how that goes.
I mean,
anything can happen over winter.
Yeah. I think that's the great thing about Time Attack is you have the flexibility to be as creative as you want. I love that.
Oh, yes.
Nice bit of movement there from Owen Llewellyn in the Mazda MX-5. That's what we like to see.
Yeah, that was a great moment there. Great catch.
Let's just follow, because this next sequence of corners coming up now, the second half of Coram.
Yes,
there we go.
yes,
and now into Murray's. How's he going to take that? Okay, well, that was pretty tame.
Yeah,
that was pretty tame.
I think maybe scrubbed some of the speed off on the previous slide. So, yeah. That's great to see, though. And again, just a really, really good example of just you can bring any car to Time Attack and there will be a class for you. So whether it's you want to turn up in your pretty stock MX-5 or you want to turn up in your 1400 power GTR, there will always be a class for you.
Oh, Kestis has, speaking of GTRs,
yes.
he outbraked himself coming into Brundle and had to take the escape road there. I think we've seen him do that already. So, yep, there's a handy little escape road there in the braking zone coming into Brundle. So, nice double lick of flame out of the back of that GTR. Great stuff.
So again, I have to go back to these classes that are in contention. So at the moment, we've got in Clubman, Dan Buckingham, fastest with a 1:33.9 from Clive Hopwell from Annie Thompson. So, and because Annie was leading the championship coming in and Dan was second, again, and then with Clive in the middle, who knows what that does to the championship once we've added up all of the points and, of course, deducted the drop rounds, and that's what makes it really, really hard to tell right now. But then also Pocket Rocket Force Induction. So Tommy Langley out there at the moment, the fastest time in Pocket Rocket Force Induction with a 1:34.589 from Stephen House, from Gary Papworth, but a single round entry from Rafael Chicharis. So, and again, I don't know what that means for the championship for Rafa, for Stephen, for Tommy. It's all to play. And somebody who's much better with spreadsheets and numbers.
Rafa's just come off. And he's he's pulled over.
That doesn't look so good. So he's not going to be able to improve on his time there.
And he's fourth in class at the moment.
Let's see what that means if they're going to have to.
Third in class minus the single round entry.
Okay, and so that's past the bomb hole, but coming up to Coram. So I don't know if that's going to mean them ended up. Are they going to have to red flag that there?
I mean, it's on the outside of a wet track.
It's on the outside. It's quite off the line. But yeah, again, we're going to have to just wait and see what that means. I see a yellow flag being waved out on track. So, and again, that means nobody's going to be able to improve their time because they've got a yellow flag in one of the sectors. So. Again, very, very interesting about what that means for the championship.
Annie Thompson, big improvement there, I think. I just saw her leap up a few places.
Oh, okay, so
considering
she has.
that we've got a yellow flag, yeah. But I guess maybe, who knows, her Sector 1 maybe wasn't very good. So her Sector 1...
Oh, they're getting a big, a big moment on the corner exit there.
So I guess perhaps she found enough time in Sector 1 to make up for the yellow in Sector 2, perhaps. That's given her an improvement overall. A couple of questions here on the live stream. Will we see the podiums on the live stream? I don't think so. That's not something that we've done, so I've got no reason to think we're going to do that today. So apologies, but that's probably a no on that. And also, when do the results get posted? Well, as you can hear, there's quite a lot of deliberations just from us two about this. From experience helping run other championships with drop rounds, that is probably an evening's work, so it's not unthinkable, but Time Attack is quite a big beast, and lots of things to work out. So I would just say keep an eye on the website, keep an eye on the socials. I don't, I'm not sure I can put a time frame to what has been quite a complex championship with quite a lot going on. So I've just got to say, watch this space. Hopefully it shouldn't take too long, but yeah, watch this space. Clive Hopwell's come off the track as well. I wonder whether perhaps it's greasing up again now.
Although, saying that, and Clive Hopwell, again, every time I look at the time,
Annie Thompson's just moved to the top of Clubman. Is that what you're going to say?
Clive Hopwell had just taken the fastest time in Clubman, but then Annie Thompson's gone back round. And
he's got his fog light on.
And as we're watching it, Dan Buckingham has improved on Clive Hopwell's time. So this is what I was saying. I think where the track is starting to dry up, I mean, it's not dry by any means.
But it's coming back.
But I think it is coming back to these drivers. And so, yeah, we're seeing, and again, for Clubman, that's massive for Annie Thompson. So she can get that fastest time in. And, of course, in Super Attack, that's the most amount of points you can get through the day. Oh, God, I'm not sure what that means anymore. Yep. I really am not. But that's definitely good news for Annie Thompson because she was running third in Clubman. So she's going to be very happy with that.
But we still have 6.5 minutes left, right? So.
Oh, and I've just seen on our messages... So, yeah, the podium shots and results will be available on socials this week. So, yeah, the team will be working on that, as we say. Lots of factors to take into account, but they will be working to get that to you as soon as possible.
Nice. Great stuff there. Yeah, I mean, we still have 6. So, all of this about Annie Thompson, this and that. I mean... If this stays as it is, that's very exciting. But we have 6 minutes left, and it could all still change, and that's also still very exciting. So,
and I'm noticing that so a yellow flag has gone, and that's why we're seeing these lap times improve. Yep. So I don't know if Rafa was able to get the car moving again, but that's obviously that's not an issue anymore. So again, yeah, 5.5 minutes left, and all to play for now.
Aggravation Racing.
Oh, and as we say, again, Dan Buckingham's gone fastest. So we are just seeing these drivers, every lap they're setting, they are just pipping each other and they are just improving on their times
Stephen
lap
House
by
there
lap.
Had a little trip off the track, but he's got going again. Aggravation Racing saying, great to see an even bigger variety of cars and entries this year. I'll be back. Great stuff. I think the more the merrier.
Excellent. That's what we like to hear.
That's what we like to hear. So we'd be very happy to see you back.
So no movement in Pocket Rocket Force inductions. So still Tommy Langley from Stephen House, from Gary Petworth, from Rafael Chicharis. So I don't know what that means for the championship, but lots and lots of movement in Clubman every time I look. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that.
Incredible. Yep, Clive Hopwell.
Oh, and again, front-wheel drive car.
These are all-wheel drive. These ones. But still, right? That's like as sure-footed as a car can be.
Yeah, I mean, look,
it's still wobbling
actually,
around.
now you say you've got that four-wheel slide going on, where you're still able to make some traction, even though you can sling it in, slide it a little bit, and then it grips up.
Oh yeah, this is very much your kind of neck of the woods. This kind of driving.
Yeah, this is you can get away with quite a lot. You can, I mean, it allows you to find if there is any grip on track. You can slide it into a corner and then have it grip up kind of like halfway around the corner. So and you can pretty much just keep it pinned as well. So something again when you're talking the rear wheel drive cars, you've got to be very, very careful on the throttle in these conditions.
Yep, Gary Pepworth there. Big improvement for him, makes up 4 places on the overall leaderboard, 133.6. That's good enough for first in Pocket Rocket Force Induction. He is a single round entry, so that doesn't affect the championship. But nonetheless, big change there in the Pocket Rocket Forced Induction battle as things stand now. Later on, he'll be discounted because he's not in the championship, no points up for grabs and so on.
And what's happening in Pocket Rocket NA as well, because so it's actually, I'm just looking down the list. Cameron Allflat in that Honda Civic is the fastest in Pocket Rocket NA, but is single round entry. And then it's Stephen Wilkinson. So Wilco is fastest at the moment in Pocket Rocket NA from Mark Roberts, from Ryan Barker. So
look, the gap there, it's 0.07 of a second between Stephen Wilkinson and Mark Roberts as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely
super close.
Tiny gap. So, but Ryan Barker, I think, has the championship sewn up for Pocket Rocket NA.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know what again. Although that might not change too much between Mark Roberts and Wilco there in the Clio with a K, because of course it is K-swapped.
Clive Hopwell.
See, this is it. Just every lap, keep an eye on what is going on in Clubman, because they are trading places every lap. And then Dan Buckingham not beat Clive's time, but again just improved his time with a 1:32.1.
Stephen House also finds a bunch of time now. He takes, well, after discounting the single round entry, Stephen House is on course for first now in Pocket Rocket Forced Induction.
This is it. I really think the track is coming back to people.
Wow.
You can see people actually moving off the line on the straight, and you can see the difference between this line that is starting to, I mean, I wouldn't really call it dry, but there's much less kind of mist being kicked up from those tyres. So, yeah, it's really track conditions starting to come back to the drivers. So it's not over yet.
No, a minute. It's quite rare that we see this because things sometimes start tapering down towards the end of the final session. But here, as the track's coming back, it's ramping up. It's doing the opposite, and drivers are finding more and more time. So Annie Thompson now crosses the line. Let's see what she can manage. Headlights are on. Just waiting for this timing screen to refresh.
So she must have been on a cool down lap there, yeah, with 1:41. But yeah, headlights blazing now. So again, and if you can do it now, you know, there's not a lot of time to answer back. So everyone's going to be going out there. I'm pretty sure everyone on the last lap is going to be going hell for leather, trying to get that final time. Because seeing on one of the cameras,
that's Mark Roberts' Clio, I think. There we go. There it is. Yep. Number 213
at the side of the track, and that is at the bomb hole, isn't it?
Do you know, I didn't get a...
Yeah. So that's on the exit of the bomb hole.
Exactly
and I'm pretty sure, again, obviously on the outside of
a soggy high-speed corner, yeah.
That is going to be a problem, for sure.
Yeah,
so
he's out of the car as well, so he's not going to move that.
Only 20 seconds left, so I'm not sure if that's going to... Yeah, we're just keeping an eye on the times, I guess, when people are just coming round. As we're seeing, I'm not seeing any improvements on sector. Although actually,
Annie Thompson sets a personal best sector 1. Oh, red flag. Never mind.
She has.
Never mind. Oh. Back off. I don't know if this. I mean, can she? I mean, I doubt there's going to be any improvement there, no matter how fast her sector 1 was.
She's going to be
into the pits.
She's going to be disappointed with that because, yeah, like I say, you were saying she's going to have the fastest first sector time there, and that could have been, who knows? But that because obviously Clubman has changed practically every time we called somebody out.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
What a finish to the season.
What a finish.
Then.
That was great fun.
That was incredible. Great driving from all of our drivers. Yeah. What a season.
Yeah, yeah. More rounds in October, please. More rainy, wet, horrible, soggy rounds where everything's unpredictable.
You would say, I'm
and
not sure
lovely.
the drivers would agree with
no.
you.
Josh
but,
Barrett definitely in the caterum is shaking his head right now, I'd imagine. Shaking his fist. Let's take a look at our provisional results then. Kestis Dobrovolskis, fastest man on track, fastest person on track, 129.3 there for him in Clubman Plus. In Clubman, then, our provisional winner in today's Super Attack is Clive Hopwell. That was decided very late on, ahead of Dan Buckingham, Annie Thompson. And let me just get out the oldie entry list. Who have we got? Clive Hopwell ahead of, Dan Buckingham, Annie Thompson, and then looking down, we have Soren Georgi with a 153.7. I don't think he really put a great deal of laps in this session. I didn't see a great deal of him on the cameras either way. So that's Clubman. Pogo Rocket Force Induction, then Gary Papworth at the top of the leaderboard. But he is a single round entry ahead of Tommy Langley, Stephen House, Rafa Tsartsaris, who had to stop. I think that's it. And then Pocket Rocket Naturally Aspirated Provisional Super Attack winner then is Wilco. Stephen Wilkinson in the K-swapped Clio ahead of Cameron Allflat, who is a single round entry. And then we have Mark Roberts, Ryan Barker, Mark Blackburn, and Christian Vieira. In Classic and Retro then, we have Dean Riley with a 134.1 ahead of Luke Taylor, Owen Llewellyn. Yep, and those are our Classic and Retro top three. Lots of entries, lots of classes, lots of stuff to try to read through.
I just see a comment on the live chat from Mike Hume saying he might have to come back to Pocket Rocket for 2026.
Yep, he should.
It's been incredibly tight this year.
Big thanks to Lucas Oil for the live stream. Yeah, I mean, definitely big thanks to Lucas. This would literally not have been possible without Lucas Oil doing what needed to be done to facilitate the live stream. So big thank you to them.
And what an amazing season to cover as well.
Yeah,
It's been our 20th anniversary. We've seen lap records broken left, right and centre. I'm pretty sure every round we've seen those lap records being broken. An amazing variety of cars, as always. I was going to say a variety of weather. We've been pretty lucky. I think today's been one of the dampest days we've had. But yeah, it's just been an incredible season as always. Fantastic paddock, amazing drivers, friendliest paddock in motorsport. I will fight anybody who says otherwise. And it's just been, an overall fantastic way to celebrate 20th anniversary.
What a great motorsport. I love Time Attack. Here's to 20 more years. I love it.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Although we might be a bit old by then.
Might be a bit old. Might not be us doing it, but yeah. Well, thank you, everyone. Those of you who are driving, thanks, Susie.
It's good to have you back as well.
Thank you. First round I ever missed, at least as a staffer. So, yep, that was tough, but it had to be done. But one of those. Those of you who are here, thank you for coming to Modified Live. Thank you for making the effort and driving here despite the rain forecast. Please drive safe. Please drive responsibly. That's very important so that we can keep doing what we do and keep putting on these great shows. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next year.
See you in 2026.